Chapter 92. Squeak the heart-refining voodoo insect let out a satisfied cry, as if it had just finished a big meal and was rubbing its stomach. Then, it slowly returned to Zhou Fu's mind and calmed down. At this moment, Zhou Fu, who was still lying on the ground, was in a better condition than ever before. He sat up and stood up under Jiang Shanken's confused gaze. You're fine." Looking at Zhou Fu's calm expression, Jiang Shanken felt cold and unreal. He had used 120% of his strength in that attack. Even a peak bone forging realm or a first blood refining realm cultivator would not dare to take it head-on, let alone a strength refining realm cultivator. However, Zhou Fu, who was only at the strength refining realm, not only did he take it head-on, but he was also fine. Jiang Shanken looked at Zhou Fu's face and the bloodstains on his body. He suddenly felt that it was very fake, but it was also very real. At this moment, the people who were watching from upstairs also ran down. When they saw the scene, they were also stunned. "What's going on?" "I don't know. Wasn't Zhou Fei beaten to death by Jiang Shanken? Why does he look fine now? Could it be the final radiance of the setting sun? F***CK, is this the final radiance of the setting sun in your family? All of you, shut up and watch." At the hole in the wall on the second floor of the Martial Cultivation Tower, the old man from before stuck his head out and looked at Zhou Fu with a puzzled expression. "It can't be. Even if he has copper skin and iron bones, he is only at the strength refining realm. How can he take on the bone forging realm's Ganyang steel breaking hand with his full strength and still be fine? Isn't this nonsense? This kid is strange." Boom! Two powerful auras surged from the Whale Gang's headquarters one after the other. They quickly rushed towards the Combat Cultivation Tower. "Who dares to cause trouble in the Martial Cultivation Tower?" Zhou Fu's eyes moved. He could tell that this was the voice of the giant whale's leader, Xinggang. "Leader, it's inconvenient for you to take action. Leave this to me." This time, it was the deputy leader, Shilong. A flaming cloud appeared in the sky. In just over 10 seconds, the flaming cloud had already arrived above the Combat Cultivation Tower. "Shilong, you actually reached the blood transformation realm? This is... Bastard, you actually practiced the blood fire true force. Why do you have to be angry, Sect Master? We are all working for the Xing family." Shilong's calm voice came out from the fiery red clouds, with a hint of sarcasm. "Bastard," a large amount of pale golden fog appeared above the giant whale. It rolled over and over rapidly, gathering into a cloud and emitting a heavy pressure. "Do you really think I don't dare to touch you?" Xinggang's voice was like thunder. "Of course I wouldn't dare. However, I'll put this matter aside for now. Let's deal with the matter at hand first, lest the juniors laugh at us." Around the Martial Cultivation Building, the people who were resisting the pressure in the air all trembled in fear after hearing those words. Then, they quickly retreated, turned around and left. Standing beside Zhou Fu, Jiang Shanken's expression suddenly changed. "Kill!" A mournful roar came out of his mouth, and two crimson palm shadows blasted towards Zhou Fu. The sudden change stunned Zhou Fu. He never thought that Jiang Shanken would actually dare to make a move at this time. "How dare you? Jiang Shanken, you are courting death." Xinggang was burning with anger. He felt that his authority was being challenged. Zhou Fu's eyes were cold. It was too late to block at this time. His mind turned quickly, and he instantly made a decision. His hands shot out at lightning speed. Instead of blocking, he let go of Jiang Shanken's palms and firmly locked onto Jiang Shanken's arms. Then, he suddenly exerted force with his feet. The huge force, mixed with the momentum of the attack, brought Jiang Shanken backward. 5 meters away, the two of them landed on the ground. Jiang Shanken's palms hit Zhou Fu's chest with a bang. Blazing inner strength exploded, and the force rushed into Zhou Fu's body. Squeak the heart-refining goo insect chirped, and the blazing force that rushed into the door dissipated instantly. Jiang Shanken suddenly screamed. He widened his eyes and looked at his arms in horror. He saw that Zhou Fu's 10 fingers were like iron hooks, deeply inserted into Jiang Shanken's forearms. Dark red blood flowed out uncontrollably. "You're done. It's my turn now." The two of them were close to each other. Zhou Fu's eyes were filled with a fierce light. He stared at Jiang Shanken's eyes and whispered. Then, he suddenly exerted force with his right hand and tightly grasped Jiang Shanken's forearm. This time, almost half of his fingers were inserted into Jiang Shanken's flesh. Crack! The eerie white bones suddenly burst out of the skin and pierced out from under Jiang Shanken's forearm. In the midst of the miserable scream, Zhou Fu kicked out. Bang! The sharp pain spread from his knee, and Jiang Shanken bent down subconsciously. As the saying goes, take your life when you are sick. Zhou Fu withdrew his leg that kicked out and raised his knee to strike. With a crack, it hit Jiang Shanken's face. Blood splattered everywhere, and even the miserable scream stopped. The huge force knocked Jiang Shanken into the air with his face up. Looking at the dazed Jiang Shanken, Zhou Fu naturally wouldn't let go of someone who wanted to kill him so easily. His elbow was like a knife, and with a bang, it ruthlessly pierced into Jiang Shanken's chest. The huge force exploded, and with a crack, a large mouthful of blood spurted out from Jiang Shanken's mouth. This ferocious strike also sent the other party flying. So what if you're a bone-forging expert? I still broke your bones. Zhou Fu sneered. After he was strengthened by the heart-refining goo worm, his body's strength increased again and became even more terrifying. It allowed him to break the sternum of a second-stage bone-forging expert. Impudent! An angry shout exploded in the air. Zhou Fu, you dare to commit murder in public? I will definitely punish you severely for harming the sect members. Boom! A huge pressure descended from the sky. At this moment, all the hair on Zhou Fu's body stood up. This is the martial cultivation tower, not the martial arts practice field. If anyone dares to attack again, this old man will cripple him. A hand that was as clear as red jade stopped 3 inches in front of Zhou Fu's face. The owner of this hand was naturally Shilong. Shilong's face showed signs of struggle, and the hatred in his eyes overflowed. Little kid, don't you understand what I'm saying? A dark golden hand appeared out of thin air. With a bang, it swatted Shilong away as if he was swatting a mosquito. Zhou Fu didn't look at Shilong, who was slapped away. Instead, he raised his head and looked at the hole on the 2nd floor of the martial cultivation tower. In front of the hole, the old man who looked after the tower stood there. You'll pay back 10 times for destroying my martial cultivation tower. Remember to fix it tomorrow. Otherwise, I'll skin you alive. At this moment, Xinggang's figure appeared beside Zhou Fu. He cupped his hands towards the 2nd floor and said, "Uncle, don't worry. I'll definitely satisfy you tomorrow." Okay. Since there's nothing else, get lost. After he finished speaking, the old man who Xinggang addressed as uncle turned around and left. At this moment, Shilong walked over expressionlessly. There was a very conspicuous handprint on his face. He bowed to Xinggang and said, "Gang leader, I was so anxious when I saw the gang members killing each other that I nearly committed a grave mistake. Please punish me." At this point, there was no point in slandering Zhou Fu. The old man in the martial cultivation tower wasn't just Xinggang's uncle. He was also an elder of the Xing family. The Xing family was the backer of the giant whale, just like the Zhu family was the backer of the Red Sea gang. Since the big boss had already spoken, how could a worker like him have any complaints? As long as he admitted his mistake obediently, Xinggang wouldn't be able to do anything to him. One had to know that Xinggang wasn't the only member of the Xing family in this generation. "You're very good." Xinggang resisted the urge to slap the other party to death and shouted, "Get lost! I'll take my leave." Chapter 93. The crowd dispersed, leaving only Zhou Fu and Xinggang. Xinggang looked at the blood on Zhou Fu's body and asked with concern, "Brother Zhou, your injuries, cough cough." Zhou Fu coughed twice. Thank you for your concern, Brother Xing. I'm fine, I can still hold on. Xing Gang's brows furrowed deeply when he saw her miserable and sorrowful appearance. Take this bottle of medicine. Xing Gang took out a porcelain bottle and handed it to Zhou Fu. Take 1 pill a day for 3 days and your internal injuries will be fine. Zhou Fu took the bottle and cupped his hands. Thank you, gang leader. Xing Gang shook his head. We're brothers, no need to be so polite. He paused for a moment, then said in a low voice, Don't worry about Shilong, I'll take care of it. You go back and treat your injuries first. Leave? No, he couldn't. Otherwise, all the anger he'd suffered today would have been for nothing. Gang leader, can I choose a cultivation method first? I wanted to choose a cultivation method when I came out of the hall, but then I got involved in this mess. I haven't decided yet. Xing Gang paused for a moment, then nodded. Okay, which one does Brother Zhou want? 2. Xing Gang frowned. 2? At this moment, the giant whale's internal affairs elder, Kong Yu Tsung, rushed over. Gang leader. Brother Zhou. Xing Gang said to Kong Yu Tsung, You came at the right time. Brother Zhou wants to choose 2 cultivation methods. Register them and send them to him. I'm going to see my uncle, the old man is a little unhappy. Kong Yu Tsung replied, I understand. After Xing Gang left, Kong Yu Tsung looked at Zhou Fu and asked, Brother Zhou, which 2 cultivation methods do you want? Zhou Fu replied, One is Flying Dragon's 5 leaps. I wanted to choose a fist technique, but now Zhou Fu had a flash of inspiration. I wonder if Elder Kong can help me think of something? Let me think of something for you? Kong Yu Tsung was speechless. He thought for a moment, then nodded. Okay, you can go back first. I'll get someone to send the cultivation methods to the Elysium tomorrow. Zhou Fu thanked him. If that's the case, then I thank Elder Kong. Kong Yu Tsung's eyes flashed. Brother Zhou, it's all gang leaders' arrangements. Since you're injured, you should go treat your injuries first. Goodbye. Looking at Zhou Fu's departing figure, Kong Yu Tsung shook his head, then turned and entered the Martial Cultivation Tower. On the 2nd floor of the Martial Cultivation Tower, at the hole in the wall, Xing Gang's back was facing Kong Yu Tsung as he asked, How was it? That kid is also a slippery one. He chose Flying Dragon's 5 leaps and asked me to recommend a fist technique. He asked you to recommend a fist technique? What did you choose? At this moment, Kong Yu Tsung walked to Xing Gang's side, half a step behind him. I don't know what the gang leader is going to give him. Give him what? Xing Gang smiled. He didn't answer directly, but sighed. Yaozong, did you know that Shilong cultivated blood-fire true energy and reached the blood-changing realm? Kong Yu Tsung was shocked. He lowered his head and replied, I didn't know. Blood-fire true energy. Third brother, Xing Gang muttered for a while, then turned to Kong Yu Tsung and said, If that's the case, give the tyrannical whale fist to Zhou Fu. I really want to know what will happen to those who are born with great strength after cultivating this technique. Tyrannical whale fist? Why? Do you have a question? Kong Yu Tsung quickly shook his head. No, what kind of fist technique is tyrannical whale fist? I've never heard of it. It's the demonic whale fist. How about it? I just changed the name. After saying that, he raised his eyebrows at Kong Yu Tsung. Gulp. Kong Yaozong swallowed his saliva with difficulty. His eyes were filled with shock. Demonic. Whale. Killing. Fist. Crazy. They were all crazy. How could they casually take out this kind of high-grade Earth-class evil technique? Xing Gang suddenly sighed with emotion. King against king, general against general, Kong Yu Tsung was shocked again. He never thought that Xing Gang would have such a high evaluation of Zhou Fu. So, a small pawn should be a small pawn to fight. If I fight, I'll dirty my hands. My family will also laugh at me. I can't afford to lose face. But now that third brother has made his move, I can't just watch and wait for Zhou Fu to kill Shilong. Sect Master Kong Yutsung said, Zhou Fu is only at the strength training stage, but Shilong is already at the blood transformation stage. Xinggang smiled. I've given you a chance. If Zhou Fu can't beat him, then let Shilong kill him. Xinggang's brother has been killed, so it shouldn't be a problem for me to take revenge, right? When the time comes, I'll kill Shilong first, then break third brother's legs. Ha ha. Whoosh, a gust of wind blew past, and Xinggang disappeared. A sigh suddenly sounded, scaring Kong Yutsung. He quickly turned around, and when he saw who it was, he quickly bowed. Greetings, Elder Xing. Xing Jingtu, the keeper of the martial cultivation tower, was an elder of the Xing family, not the giant whales. Kids these days are so troublesome. Xing Jingtu shook his head, his eyes full of disdain. Since you can't stand each other, then fight. Whoever wins is in the right. Now, all of you only know how to play dirty tricks behind people's backs. You're all a bunch of trash. After scolding for a while, Xing Jingtu turned his gaze to Kong Yutsung and snorted. What are you looking at? You're not a good person either. Elder! I smack. 2 books were thrown into Kong Yutsung's arms. He looked down and saw that they were Flying Dragon's 5 Zigzags and Overlord Whale Fist. He even changed the names. Kong Yutsung raised his head and looked at Xing Jingtu's departing figure. This old man didn't seem to be a good person either. The next day, at the Elysium, Zhou Fu looked at the 2 secret manuals and a picture scroll on the table. He felt strange. Why was there another picture? Overlord Whale Fist? This name. Earth level high grade. It comes with the Blood Sea Demon Whale painting? Whoosh. Zhou Fu's pupils shrank. As the picture scroll unfolded, the room was filled with a faint smell of blood. On the picture scroll, the boundless sea of blood divided heaven and earth into 2 parts. Below, there were layers upon layers of corpses. Above the sea of blood, a huge demon whale floated quietly, emitting a terrifying aura. This picture scroll had 3 colors: red, black, and white. The strong visual impact made Zhou Fu's breathing become heavy. Smack! The scroll was abruptly closed. Damn, too demonic, huff huff. Zhou Fu breathed heavily. As expected of a demon whale. Too demonic. At this time, he had an impulse to kill and destroy everything in front of him. Even the blood and qi in his body were surging. There was no need to look at Flying Dragon's 5 zigzags. He could just use the supplementary skill to level it up. Facing Overlord Whale Fist, Zhou Fu hesitated. If he leveled up this Earth-level technique too quickly, it would definitely be noticed. Not to mention, I only asked for a fist technique, but he gave me the Earth-level high-grade Overlord Whale Fist? If there's nothing wrong with it, then there must be something wrong. The scariest thing in the world was someone being nice to you for no reason. It was so nice that it was beyond what you could accept. It's impossible to turn it back, but why? Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. Zhou Fu's eyes widened. Damn, that Xinggang can't be asking me to kill Shilong, right? Motherf *Ker, there's a difference of 2 major realms between us. Is there something wrong with Xinggang's head? Chapter 94. After Zhou Fu understood why Xinggang gave him the Tyrant Whale Fist, he felt helpless and aggrieved. I just want to be a quiet rich kid. Why do people always force me? Bang! The table shook violently. It was Zhou Fu who had slapped the table in his agitation. Since that's the case, don't regret it. Level up. Ding! Flying Dragon's pentagonal leveled up. A few small streams of heat rose up from under his feet, causing the muscles and meridians on his legs to vibrate. The streams of heat continued to rise and finally gathered in his dantian before calming down. Flying Dragon's pentagonal. Level 1, Light Body Level 1, Dexterity Level 1, again. Ding. Flying Dragon's pentagonal leveled up. The streams of heat rose up again, causing his blood vessels to burst out of his body. His muscles were being squeezed under the heat, pulling out the lines of flying dragons pentagonal. After changing his legs, the streams of heat returned to his dantian. Flying dragons pentagonal. Level 2, light body level 2, dexterity level 2. Zhou Fu looked at his value on the screen. Status: 87% energy, 0 yesterday. After Zhou Fu's battle at the Giant Whales Combat Cultivation Building, his body was completely strengthened by the heart-refining goo. His status was at 85%. After eating the pill that Xing Gang gave him, he was pleasantly surprised to find that his status had increased by 5 points. It was now at 90%. I've used 3 points. I feel like I can do it a few more times. Level up. Flying dragons pentagonal. Level 3, light body level 3, dexterity level 3, durability level 1. Boom. Zhou Fu's blood qi began to vibrate, turning into a torrent that quickly flowed towards his legs. After gathering a large amount of blood qi, his legs were like iron, constantly being tempered. This time, it wasn't just his muscles that were being tempered. Even his bones were being strengthened. This feeling is quite satisfying. Zhou Fu's legs couldn't stop trembling. Small beads of sweat flowed out of the pores on his legs. After 10 minutes, the strengthening was complete. He called out his status panel. Status: 78%. Damn, I actually used 9 points. Wait, what's up with this illusionary moon body movement skill? Illusory moon body movement skill. Level 1, lightness level 1, evasion level 1. He had been demoted. His illusionary moon body movement skill, which was at the 2nd level, had been demoted after Flying Dragon's 5 vertical movements reached the 3rd level. What do you mean? Incompatible? That's not right either. Zhou Fu looked at his martial arts page doubtfully. There were a lot of martial arts that strengthened his physique, but none of them conflicted with each other. That's strange. If I were to level up 2 more times, would this illusionary moon movement skill be gone? Unable to figure it out, Zhou Fu could only helplessly give up. Forget it, let's put it aside for now. Zhou Fu stood up, feeling light. He knew that this was the aftereffect of continuously breaking through the Flying Dragon's 5 vertical flying dragons. After 2 days, he would be fine once he got used to it. He opened the door and walked out of the room. This was an independent courtyard that originally belonged to the previous ruler of the Elysium. However, it now belonged to Zhou Fu. When the servants in the courtyard saw Zhou Fu come out, they hurriedly bowed. "Greetings, sir." Zhou Fu nodded. He was already very used to this kind of situation. "Is the meal ready?" "It's ready. Sir, you can eat at any time." When Zhou Fu came to the dining table, there were already more than 15 kilograms of cooked meat on it. Steam rose up and the fragrance filled the air. In addition, there were 2 large plates of green vegetables that weighed about 10 kilograms. These things were Zhou Fu's meat and vegetables for lunch. As Zhou Fu continued to eat, the essence wheel started to operate on its own. It turned the food he ate into small streams of heat, and then guided these streams of heat into the essence wheel to store them. More than 10 minutes later, with the help of the essence wheel, Zhou Fu finished all the food on the table. He patted his stomach and said to the maid standing at the side, "In the future, add another 10 kilograms of meat. Forget it, add another 20 kilograms. Add another 20 kilograms for every meal." The maid trembled and replied with some fear, "Yes, sir. I'll remember it." After saying that, the maidservant ran out quickly, for fear that Zhou Fu was not full and would swallow her up again. Zhou Fu got up and walked from the dining table to the door. In less than 10 steps, the food in his stomach had already been digested, and the essence qi in the essence wheel had increased a bit. 3 meals, 60 to 70 kilograms of cooked meat, 15 kilograms of vegetables, and a pill given by Xing Gang. Only then was the Yangming wheel full. "Since I've finished digesting, let's start cultivating." Standing in the empty courtyard, Zhou Fu closed his eyes. In his mind, he was thinking about the moves of the tyrannical whale fist. Step forward, punch. The moves of the tyrannical whale fist were slowly being practiced by Zhou Fu. Once, twice, from unfamiliar to familiar, he used it 5 times. Zhou Fu said helplessly, "Sigh too slow. It's more comfortable to cheat. Level up." Ding! Tyrannical whale fist leveled up. Tyrannical whale fist. Level 1, Level 1 Advanced Strength Amplification, Level 1 Advanced Strength Condensation, Level 1 Demonic Will, Level 1 Killing Intent. Boom! The essence chi in Zhou Fu's body went berserk. It was as if cold water had been poured into a pot of boiling oil. The boiling essence chi brought about a high temperature. His skin was as red as a cooked lobster. At this moment, the boiling essence chi gathered at his chest and kept compressing. It wasn't until a trace of weakness rose from his body that Zhou Fu realized that his essence chi was empty. Just as Zhou Fu was about to take out a pill to resist, the Yang Ming wheel suddenly released a large amount of essence chi into his body. The essence wheel could actually convert essence chi. Zhou Fu had always thought that the energy stored in the Yang Ming wheel was for when he was hungry. He didn't expect it to be able to convert essence chi. This discovery left Zhou Fu completely dumbfounded. What a heaven-defying technique! Before he could think further, the huge amount of essence chi squeezed into a ball in his chest. Then, there was a tremor. Zhou Fu's body shook violently and the ball shattered. Pucci, in Zhou Fu's perception, a blood-red pony appeared. Streams of heat flowed out from its body and rushed towards Zhou Fu's body. Boom! There was a loud sound. The stone slab under Zhou Fu's feet instantly shattered. His feet stepped into the ground. Without waiting for Zhou Fu to catch his breath, the pale golden inner strength in his body began to circulate. It was no longer as gentle as before. Like a raging river, it rushed into the unopened meridians. Crackle! The crisp sound of bones continuously rang out from Zhou Fu's body. Boom! The 5th meridian was opened. The pale golden inner strength didn't slow down and rushed into the 6th meridian. Boom! 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 The surging inner strength was like a flood. The meridian was like a dried-up river. Amidst the roaring of the waves, the 6th meridian was opened. After opening 2 meridians, Zhou Fu didn't feel relaxed. At this moment, he could feel the meridians all over his body beginning to swell and hurt. At this moment, his face was very ugly. He only improved the tyrant whale fist. How could it cause such a chain reaction? He knew that the worst was yet to come. According to the characteristics of inner strength, every time 3 meridians were opened, the human body would be strengthened. This should be a good thing. However, at this moment, Zhou Fu's condition wasn't good. The breakthrough was too fast, and he didn't have time to adapt to the power in his body. The strengthening had begun. Boom! A powerful chi wave shook out from Zhou Fu's body. Under his feet, the shattered ground turned into a half-meter deep pit. Amidst the smoke and dust, a series of terrifying roars could be heard. Chapter 95. When the dust settled, Zhou Fu's disheveled figure was revealed. He looked as if he had been fighting for hours. His clothes were tattered, his hair was disheveled, and his face was plastered with sweat. "Mr. Zhou, are you okay?" As the Elysium's manager, Jean Ping had rushed over with his men when he noticed the abnormality in the courtyard. When he arrived, the small courtyard was filled with smoke and dust. Moreover, the roars that shook one's soul made him not dare to act rashly. When the dust settled and Zhou Fu's figure was revealed, he hurriedly went forward to ask about it. Zhou Fu took a deep breath and suppressed the heat in his heart. He said in a hoarse voice, "I'm fine. Prepare some bathwater for me, and then have someone bring me some nourishing medicine. That's right, help me fix up the courtyard. Make it look like a training ground." Jean Ping opened his mouth, then replied, "Yes, I'll do it right away." Actually, he shouldn't be doing these things. However, since Zhou Fu was his boss and a newcomer, he agreed to it first. He planned to find time to explain to Zhou Fu in private. Otherwise, he felt that he would be very busy in the future. After arranging everything, Zhou Fu turned to leave. Suddenly, a small voice came from the crowd. How impressive! Everyone present was a martial arts practitioner. Those with sharp ears and eyes naturally heard what he said. Zhou Fu stopped in his tracks, turned around, and looked in the direction of the voice. He said calmly, "Who said that? Come forward." No one answered. Jean Ping said carefully, "Mr. Zhou, this is an accident. Why don't you what? Who said that? Come forward." The giant whale situation made Zhou Fu very angry. Now, there were still people who didn't know their place and came forward to cause trouble. He wasn't going to let them be. The people in the courtyard were all veterans of the Elysium. As for Zhou Fu, he was a newcomer to the Elysium. It was said that he had taken the back door and relied on his connections with the elders to get to such a high position. This made some people very unhappy. Now, hearing Zhou Fu's unyielding words, the anger in some people's hearts soared. The giant whale was not a place where good people gathered. Moreover, these people were in charge of the gambling house. Which one of them had not killed a few people? I said it. What's wrong? A man in his 30s came out, his face full of anger. He stared at Zhou Fu and said, "Am I wrong? When Boss Lu was still around, did he ever order us around like this? He's just a newbie who relied on his connections to get here. What's with the pretense? Who is Boss Lu?" Zhou Fu turned to look at Jean Ping. In reply to my lord, Boss Lu was the original leader of this place. At the same time, he was also our sect's external affairs emissary. His position was the same as yours. Later on, he died in a great battle. I see. Zhou Fu nodded. He looked at the man and said, "Since you miss external affairs emissary Lu so much, then you can go follow him." As soon as Zhou Fu finished speaking, the crowd suddenly lost sight of him. Not good. My lord, don't. Old Zhu, be careful. Zhou Fu appeared again and punched out. In an instant, his fist landed on the man's forehead. Bang! The man's head suddenly shattered, and a large cloud of bloody mist drifted out. The headless corpse was still standing on the spot. It swayed twice, then fell to the ground with a bang. So this is the tyrannical whale fist? Seeing the result of his attack, Zhou Fu was stunned. He did not expect the tyrannical whale fist to be so domineering. This attack only used qi and blood. It was the purest form of strength. After coming back to his senses, Zhou Fu felt a trace of satisfaction in his heart, as if he wanted a few more punches. The bloody mist that filled the air also emitted a sweet smell. Zhou Fu's body trembled. He activated the Wisdom King scripture, and the strange thought dissipated. He looked around and asked calmly, "Who else has any objections?" The crowd in the courtyard looked at the headless corpse on the ground in horror. They were very familiar with that person. He was one of Boss Lu's trusted aides. He was at the peak of strength refining and half a step into the bone-forging realm. Yet, he was beaten to this state by Zhou Fu with one punch. He did not even have a chance to react. The pressure of death caused everyone present to fall silent. At this moment, they no longer looked at Zhou Fu with disdain. Only fear and dread were left in their eyes. Since no one has any objections, then deal with this matter. It was not until Zhou Fu left that the crowd in the courtyard dared to disperse. News of the Elysium quickly spread to the headquarters. Murder? Xinggang, who was originally lying on the bed, suddenly sat up. He stared at Kong Yutsung, who came to report, and said, "Tell me, what happened?" Yes. According to the report, Zhou Fu seemed to have a breakthrough this afternoon, which caused a big commotion. Then, Elysium's guards rushed over. One of the guards had a conflict with Zhou Fu. Then, that guard's head was shattered by Zhou Fu's punch, but his body was still standing straight. Xinggang's jaw dropped, and his eyes widened. Really? Kong Yutsung nodded. The Elysium's guards can testify. Oh my God! Xinggang sucked in a breath of cold air. Golden light flashed in his eyes. Slowly, the corner of his mouth became wider and wider. Ha 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 ha. Good, good, good. Amidst his loud laughter, he said good more than 10 times in a row. Genius! What a genius! The laughter disappeared. Shingang stared at Kong Yutsung seriously and said, Do you know what it means to use less than a day to master the demonic whale-killing fist? Without waiting for Kong Yutsung to reply, he continued, It means that the kid has a very high talent, the kind that's terrifying. Then, a strange smile appeared on his face. Unfortunately, no, fortunately, Shilong interfered and disrupted his plan, allowing me to give him the demonic whale-killing fist. Ha 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 ha. So it feels so good to destroy a genius. So good. After Shingang finished laughing, Kong Yutsung cautiously reminded him, Gang leader, although the tyrannical whale-killing fist has its flaws, I have to say that its power is too strong. It's even more terrifying than some heaven-class technique. You have to be careful. A blade can hurt others, but it can also hurt yourself. Shingang was stunned. After thinking for a while, he nodded and said, You're right. I originally thought that the kid only had some talent. Who would have thought that he was actually a genius? After getting off the bed, Shingang paced back and forth in the room. Geniuses are really annoying. They're just like my boss. They can't be judged using normal logic. To put it bluntly, they're like God's illegitimate children. No, let me think. Shingang crossed his arms and leaned against the pillar. Kong Yutsung suggested, How about we kill him before he discovers the flaws in the tyrannical whale-killing fist? Kill him? Shingang rolled his eyes. Kill him, and you'll fight with Shilong? Kong Yutsung hurriedly shook his head. The reason why he was able to get to where he was now was because he had been following Shingang since he was young and helped him with his work. Also, he was smart and had a lot of ideas. As for his cultivation, it was all thanks to Shingang's various pills. A flash of inspiration appeared. Kong Yutsung said, Gang leader, I have an idea. Not only should we not suppress Zhou Fu's growth, we should also help him improve. Shingang looked at his think tank and asked, What do you mean? The tyrannical whale-killing fist requires a large amount of blood and qi. Let's provide Zhou Fu with blood and qi pills. Let him grow quickly. Then, we'll incite hatred between him and Shilong. Let them both be injured, and then we'll make our move. Shingang thought for a while. That Shilong isn't an idiot. He'll know about Zhou Fu's current situation. Kong Yutsung smiled. Shilong is a sly old fox, but he still has family and subordinates. Shingang stared at Kong Yutsung, the corner of his mouth twitching, as expected of you. Chapter 96. Sir, the people you are looking for have been brought here. Jin Peng leaned to the side, revealing Ma Shuping and Yu Zhu behind him. Young master. The two looked at Zhou Fu in surprise. Zhou Fu nodded, indicating for the two to calm down. He then said to Jin Peng, I brought these two from home. He pointed to Yu Zhu and introduced. This is Yu Zhu, she is usually in charge of my food and clothing. This, he then pointed to Ma Shuping, is my housekeeper. He is in charge of all the chores in the courtyard. This is Jin Peng, the Elysium shopkeeper. Hearing the word shopkeeper, Jin Peng hurriedly said, I don't dare, I can't be a shopkeeper. A shopkeeper's status was much higher than a housekeeper's. With his qualifications, he was still not qualified. If I say you are, then you are. Zhou Fu calmly confirmed Jin Peng's position. This subordinate thanks sir. Jin Peng's eyes were filled with surprise. In today's Elysium, no one dared to oppose Zhou Fu's words. After all, the scene of Zhou Fu killing someone at the pinnacle of the training stage with one punch was deeply imprinted in their hearts. One must know that among the Elysium's bodyguards, the one with the highest cultivation was the unlucky one who was killed. If the most powerful one was killed with one punch, they would have died even more miserably. Zhou Fu then said to Ma Shuping and Yu Zhu, If the two of you encounter any problems, You can discuss it with Jinping. Yes. I understand, young master. This time, Jinping was even happier. In this way, he no longer needed to be Zhou Fu's housekeeper. At this moment, 2 bodyguards walked in from outside the courtyard. Sir, there is a letter from the headquarters. Headquarters? The guard at the back stepped forward with a box in his hand. He bowed to Zhou Fu and said, "Greetings, Sir Envoy." Zhou Fu nodded and asked, "Is there any news from the headquarters?" "My lord, the sect leader was worried about your injuries and specially gave you a blood chi pill." Blood and chi pill? What the hell? The guard held the box in his hand and handed it over. Seeing Zhou Fu accept the box, the guard said, "This great blood chi pill is a top-notch medicinal pill. It can increase the vitality of martial artists below the extraordinary level. Moreover, the medicinal effect is mild. 1 pill per month will not cause any harm to the body. There are a total of 12 pills inside." After explaining, the guard cupped his fists and said, "The things have been delivered. I will go back to report." After the guard left, Jinping was still in shock. At the same time, he looked at Zhou Fu with even more caution. Because of one sentence, Zhou Fu killed a gang member. Not only was he not held accountable by the headquarters, but he was also given a medicinal pill that ordinary people dreamed of. This was beyond his understanding. "Congratulations, my lord. After obtaining this divine pill, my lord's cultivation will definitely rise to another level." Zhou Fu opened the box. Inside were 12 pills wrapped in wax. Looking at these round balls, he asked doubtfully, "Is it really that amazing?" This sentence stunned Jinping for a moment. Then, he thought of Zhou Fu's background and did not find it strange. "My lord, even the elders in the sect can't get a medicinal pill of this level so easily. But today, my lord was given 12 pills by the sect leader. This is really—" For a moment, he could not find the words to express his feelings. After being excited for a long time, he still couldn't say anything. He could only take his leave. Before he left, he looked at Ma Shuping. "Brother Ma, please follow me. There are some matters in Lord Zhou's courtyard that I need to hand over to you." "Okay." After the 2 of them left, Yuzhu also left. She said that this courtyard still needed a few maids to do work, and she wanted to choose them herself. After everyone left, the courtyard returned to silence. Zhou Fu took out a medicinal pill and looked at it curiously. "Blood and chi pill? Even the elders have a hard time getting it?" The wax-wrapped medicinal pill spun in his hand. "Haha, is it really that good?" Zhou Fu used his fingers to gently exert force, and the wax-wrapped medicinal pill shattered with a snap. What the hell is this smell? Could it be that you took the wrong medicinal pill and sent the poisonous pill over?" The pungent smell rushed to his head, and Zhou Fu's eyes were even filled with tears. Staring at the medicinal pill, Zhou Fu hesitated for a moment, but finally decided to give it a try. As the medicinal pill entered his mouth, the spicy taste spread. However, the spicy taste quickly dissipated, and the taste was somewhat like tangerine peel. It was sweet and tasted good. Gulp! As the medicinal pill entered his stomach, a warm and cool feeling spread from his stomach. At this moment, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, and the Yang Ming wheel began to operate. Thick streams of essence qi were sucked out of his stomach and poured into his body. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes. The Yang Ming wheel suddenly felt full, and the essence in his stomach showed no signs of weakening. Zhou Fu was shocked, and his eyes lit up. "This is good stuff. I must get the craftsmanship of this thing." He remembered what Jinping said before. It could be used by anyone below the extraordinary level. This was simply good news for him. At this moment, the Yang Ming wheel was no longer devouring the essence in his stomach. Zhou Fu didn't even think about it and directly upgraded the essence wheel. Upgrade. Ding. The essence wheel has leveled up. Essence wheel. Level 4, strengthened absorption level 4, special effect. Qi and blood conversion. With the upgrade of the cultivation technique, the Yang Ming wheel began to rotate again. At the same time, there was a warm current spreading from his stomach, and even the intestines below his stomach felt warm. Comfortable. It was like soaking in a hot spring in winter. Level 4 strengthening can already affect the intestines? If I continue to strengthen it, will I have to strengthen the entire digestive system? With some doubts, Zhou Fu continued to pay attention to the situation of the Yang Ming wheel and his own status. 10 minutes later, the essence emitted from his stomach began to slow down, but the Yang Ming wheel seemed to be full again. Sigh, upgrade. Zhou Fu was a little helpless. He didn't want to invest too much in the essence wheel at the moment. After all, he still had 2 solid martial arts that had not been upgraded. Ding! The essence wheel has leveled up. Essence wheel. Level 5, strengthened absorption. Level 5, special effect, qi and blood conversion. This time, Zhou Fu felt that his esophagus, stomach, and intestines were all wrapped up by warm air, becoming tougher little by little. At the same time, the speed at which the pills in his stomach were volatilized increased again. 2 minutes later, the pills were converted. Zhou Fu looked at his status value. 70%. It was about to fall to 60+. Sigh, I have to upgrade the secret of iron bone and the art of bronze armor after a while. Zhou Fu, who was idle, called out the auxiliary interface and looked at the martial arts on it. He took advantage of the time when the status value was restored to sort out his own training routine to maximize his combat power. The Tyrant Whale Fist. There is a problem with this technique. It actually has things like demonic thoughts and killing intent. It is a little dangerous. However, in Zhou Fu's mind, he recalled the punch he had used to kill the guard. The purest form of strength had brought about the most direct effect. This attack power, sigh. But fortunately, the scripture of the wise king seems to be able to suppress it. So the scripture of the wise king should be the main cultivation, followed by the secret of iron bone and the art of bronze armor, and then the Tyrant Whale Fist. For the time being, it's decided. Suddenly, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed as he stared at the panel. The scripture of the wise king can support other martial arts, if it is used to support the cultivation of the secret of iron bone. If this is feasible. Chapter 97. 10 days later. Zhou Fu stood in the courtyard in the posture of the dragon embracing pillar. In his body, a faint golden inner strength covered the bones of his body. These inner strengths, like flowing water, slowly washed and accompanied by subtle vibrations. This is the unique cultivation method of Iron Bone Secret Scroll, vibrating the inner strength in the body and slowly strengthening the bones of the whole body according to a specific frequency. Originally, Zhou Fu tried to increase the flow speed of the inner strength and the frequency of the vibration. Not only did it have no effect, but he also suffered internal injuries. Even the state value that recovered to 85 dropped by 2 points. Since that day, Zhou Fu has been very honest and no longer randomly changed the cultivation method. Kaka Zhou Fu's hands changed a few hand seals, and the inner strength attached to his bones returned to his meridians. Then, his qi and blood emerged and quickly rushed to every part of his body. Only when a layer of fine sweat appeared on his skin did he slowly stop. It's been 10 days, my body's condition is now recovered, and the profound qi in the Yang Ming wheel is also sufficient. It's time to upgrade my martial arts. Then, Zhou Fu instructed Yuzhu and walked into the practice room. The furnishings of the room were very simple. There was a table against the wall with prepared water on it. In the middle of the room, there was a 2-meter square cushion for Zhou Fu to meditate and practice. In the back wall of the practice room, there was a door that led to the bathroom, which was specially arranged by Zhou Fu. After changing into clean and loose clothes and spreading his hair, Zhou Fu sat down cross-legged on the cushion in the middle of the room and formed the Wisdom King Fearless seal with his hands. His heart also calmed down. After calling out the auxiliary panel and selecting Iron Bone Secret Scroll, he said silently, "Upgrade!" Ding, Iron Bone Secret Scroll has been successfully upgraded. Iron Bone Secret Scroll. 4th level, Bone Strengthening level 4, Blood Strengthening level 1. Looking at the newly generated attributes, Zhou Fu was overjoyed. There was actually one more. After thinking about it, the appearance of this attribute was very reasonable. After all, the bones of the human body had the function of producing blood. Just as Zhou Fu was letting his imagination run wild, the blood and qi in his body suddenly trembled, rushing out from all parts of his body, surging towards the nearby bones and wrapping around them. Layer after layer, it was like the clouds in the mountains. However, this was a cloud formed by blood and was as red as blood. When all of his bones were covered in red mist, numerous needles of qi and blood appeared in the red mist and pierced into his bones. Bang bang bang! Zhou Fu's eyes suddenly widened. The veins on his forehead and temples bulged, and one could clearly see the bulging veins pulsating. The intense pain made him unable to make a sound. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead, neck, and back. Then, his pores suddenly tightened, and not a single drop of sweat came out. At the same time, the qi and blood in his body generated a large amount of heat. The heat tried to rush out of the body, but it was blocked by the pores. As the heat accumulated, it kept squeezing, like countless steel needles, constantly attacking his pores. It was extremely uncomfortable. The red mist of qi and blood continued to attack his bones, trying to get in. After trying for a long time, it only went in a little. At this time, a large amount of qi and blood surged out of the Yangming wheel and joined the red mist. This time, the pain increased again. Just as Zhou Fu was tormented by the intense pain in his body and was a little absent-minded, the inner strength in his meridians also surged out. Just like usual, when he used the Wisdom King scripture to support the Iron Bone Secret Scroll cultivation, the inner strength covered up. However, this time, the inner strength did not cover the bones, but the blood mist condensed from qi and blood. The blood mist needles were instantly strengthened. In Zhou Fu's ears, there seemed to be a continuous sound that sounded like rain hitting a banana leaf. The qi and blood needles that were supported by the Wisdom King scripture were extremely sharp and instantly pierced into the bones. Thus, the pale golden inner strength mixed with the blood mist entered the bones. Sink. Amidst the intense pain, Zhou Fu felt his body sink suddenly. He could clearly feel that the density of his bones had increased, and their strength had also increased by a level. After more than 10 minutes, the inner strength returned to his meridians, and the qi and blood flowed freely in his body. Moreover, in Zhou Fu's perception, there was a pony with red light flowing around its body, running happily in the qi and blood mist. After the upgrade, Zhou Fu looked at the attribute panel. The original 100 points of the status value were now left with 70 points. In other words, this upgrade consumed a total of 30 points of his status value, and a part of the qi and blood in the Yangming wheel. Everything was worth it. Zhou Fu stood up and raised his hand. The bones in my arm are 30% heavier than before. It's so uncomfortable. The quality of my body can't keep up. He looked at the bronze armor art and then looked at his status. He gritted his teeth. I'll take a gamble. At most, I'll recuperate for a few days. Recuperate? Zhou Fu's gaze swept down the page. Eternal Spring Energy. Level 3, Basic Recovery Level 3. This was the skill that Zhou Fu had forgotten for a long time, and now it was reflected in his eyes. Isn't this a healing skill? F***ck, I'm so stupid. How could I forget about this? Although upgrading martial arts could bring a lot of attribute bonuses, this kind of bonus was too violent. It would put a burden on his body, and it might even cause damage. This was also the reason why his status value dropped. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed, and he instantly made up his mind to upgrade the Eternal Spring Energy first. Upgrade. Upgrade again. The system notification sounded continuously, and his status value and the qi essence in the Yangming wheel quickly disappeared. After upgrading to the 5th level, the notification changed. Ding! Eternal Spring Energy has broken through. Eternal Spring Energy. Level 6, Healing Level 1, Recovery Level 1, Status Value. 59%. It dropped below 60%. Zhou Fu fell to the ground weakly, and his body was already soaked in sweat. If I win, I'll go to the clubhouse. Yes. This round is considered a 5-card stud. At this moment, on the stats page, his status value jumped to 60%. It increased a little. He won the bet. Young master, what happened to you? Quickly sit down, I'll get you a doctor. In the courtyard, Zhou Fu walked to the wide recliner with Yuju's help, and carefully lay down. Then, Yuju hurriedly ran out. This time, I wonder what kind of trouble will happen. Looking at the clear sky above, Zhou Fu muttered to himself. Soon, a large group of people ran in under Yuju's lead. Sir! Young master! Jin Peng and Ma Shuping looked at Zhou Fu's pale face and shouted in shock. Yuju's eyes were filled with tears, and she pulled a man in a black robe who looked to be in his 40s. She choked and said, Doctor, quickly take a look at my young master. The doctor quickly went forward. Sir, I'm sorry for the offense. He reached out and placed his hand on Zhou Fu's wrist. He closed his eyes, focused, and carefully felt the pulse under his hand. After a while, the doctor opened his eyes, and Yuju hurriedly asked, Doctor, how is my young master? The doctor frowned and said hesitantly, From this sir's pulse, his qi and blood are vigorous, and his pulse is strong. However, the yang qi in his body has broken the balance of yin and yang, resulting in a deficiency of yin and hyperactivity of yang. However, sir's symptoms are more serious, and it should be because he is in a hurry to cultivate. Doctor, quickly tell me, how should I treat it? I'll give sir a prescription, decoct it twice a day, morning and night. For the next month, recuperate in peace, and remember not to use martial arts. Then, I'll give you a prescription for brewing tea. Drink it before and after cultivation, and the symptoms will not appear. Chapter 98. After the doctor left, groups of people came and went. They put down some things, greeted him, and left. At this time, Zhou Fu realized that there were so many giant whale members in the Elysium. He thought that it would be good if there were more than 20 people. Who knew that there would be more than 50 people today? It had been an hour since Zhou Fu walked out of the training room. He looked at his attribute panel. The value of 60 had returned to 65, which was equivalent to 5 to 6 points per hour. A hint of a smile appeared in his eyes, but it soon disappeared. The news of my injury has been sent back to the headquarters, right? I wonder what you will do? Giant Whale Headquarters. What? Zhou Fu is injured? Xingang stared at Kong Yutsung and asked. That's right. Kong Yaozong smiled bitterly. That kid is just a hothead. According to the doctor, he was too anxious to cultivate. He needs to rest for a month. Bastard, Xingang paced back and forth angrily. A month. Motherf asterisk cur, I guess that bastard Shilong is laughing like crazy. Don't worry, leader, Kong Yutsung said. It seems that Zhou Fu relied on his own talent to reach this level. He doesn't know anything about martial arts. As he explained, Xingang's expression became strange. According to what Kong Yutsung said, Zhou Fu's talent was too monstrous. Looking at Xingang's expression, Kong Yutsung smiled and continued, Leader, actually, we are the ones who benefit the most from Zhou Fu's situation. Xingang raised his eyebrows and looked at Kong Yutsung strangely. He asked, What do you mean? Since Zhou Fu doesn't have any martial arts knowledge, we can take advantage of this and lock him down in the martial cultivation tower. What's the reason? That's easy. Just tell him that you want him to cultivate Tyrant Whale Fist in peace. Tell him that this is for his own good. Let him focus on one martial art. Xingang nodded as he listened. Not only that, you have to give him a prescription to help him recuperate. This time, Xingang was unhappy. One had to know that the prescription for recuperating the body was very expensive. What he took out was not something that an ordinary doctor could write. That's too much. Not to mention him, even Long wouldn't be able to get this recipe. Kong Yaozong smiled and explained, "Of course, I won't let you give away the original copy. Even if you give it to him, can Zhou Fu afford to eat the things inside?" Hearing that he didn't need to give out the original copy, Xing Gang nodded. "You sure are thoughtful. Hurry up and say it." As of now, Zhou Fu's monthly income is about 12,000 taels. We have to let him know that cultivation costs money. Only by spending money can he improve faster and safer. We have to make him unable to make ends meet. Kong Yu Tsung smiled sinisterly. If his cultivation is delayed because of lack of money, will he be willing? Moreover, under the influence of Tyrant Whale Fist, what will he do? At this moment, the image of a crazy killing figure appeared in front of his eyes. As long as he makes a move, there will be a conflict. When the time comes, we just have to give him a light push, or maybe we don't even need to push him. He will fight with Long. Even if they don't fight, there will be a progress report in a year and a half. If I remember correctly, Long's nephew is coming back, right? Xing Gang was overjoyed when he heard this. This feeling of strategizing was simply too satisfying. He only had to open his mouth, and a blood transformation realm expert and a young genius were about to fight on the path he had chosen. Good, good, good. Xing Gang said good 3 times in a row and asked, "What about the ending? If there isn't a good ending, it won't be worthy of this arrangement." Kong Yu Tsung said, "No matter who wins or loses, Zhou Fu will definitely be heavily injured. As the leader, give him a blood mark pill to heal his injuries." Blood mark pill? Xing Gang immediately interrupted Kong Yu Tsung. "Why did this thing come out? That thing will explode if it's given to people below level 6 of the mortal evolution realm." The sound in the room suddenly disappeared, and a strange atmosphere gathered. Xing Gang took a deep breath and grinned. "As the leader, my general is injured. Of course, I have to give him a healing pill. However, there was a mistake when taking the pill. The person who chose the pill gave him the blood mark pill, causing my capable general to lose his life. TSK. Kong Yu Tsung continued. After investigation, the pill was chosen by Long. Ha 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 ha. In the middle of the night, Zhou Fu walked into the training room again under Yuju's worried gaze. About half an hour later, Zhou Fu walked out. His face was calm, but his movements were slightly slow. He seemed to be careful and didn't dare to use force. Even Yuju, who wanted to help, was rejected by Zhou Fu. Sitting at the dining table, Zhou Fu reached out his hand. His skin was a bit yellow. At first glance, it looked like he was seriously ill. If one looked closely, it was the color of copper. The meat that he usually ate in one bite was cut into small pieces before putting it into his mouth. All these changes were seen by the maidservants who were serving at the side. After an hour of dinner, Zhou Fu took the bowl of medicine from Yuju and drank it. As the medicine entered his stomach, a warm and cool feeling immediately spread throughout his body. Zhou Fu's eyes lit up. "This medicine is different from the one I had in the afternoon?" Yuju nodded. "When young master was practicing, shopkeeper Jean sent a prescription and said it was from sect leader, so I changed it for you. I saw that young master's condition wasn't good just now, so I forgot to tell you about it. Please punish me." It doesn't matter. Zhou Fu waved his hand with a surprised look on his face. "This prescription is very good. It's not something that other doctors can compare to." "Really?" Yuju was very happy to hear that. That's good. Sect leader also sent 2 prescriptions, and one of them is for you to make tea. It's just that. Seeing Yuju's hesitant expression, Zhou Fu asked, "What is it?" "It's just too expensive." This time, Zhou Fu was curious. As his personal maid, she had seen a lot of money. It wasn't easy for her to say that it was expensive. How expensive? The healing medicine costs 600 taels, so it's 1,200 taels per day. This is what shopkeeper Jean took from the sex pharmacy. If you buy it outside, it would cost more than 1,000 taels. The medicine packet for making tea is cheaper, only 100 taels per day. Zhou Fu nodded. Based on his body's reaction, this price was acceptable. Then, he asked curiously, how much do I need to eat every day? Yuju's expression instantly became strange. She hesitantly said, young master eats 4 meals a day. For each meal, 50 pounds of cooked meat, 10 pounds of vegetables, and 1 pound of polished rice. Shopkeeper Jean calculated that it's 600 taels per day. What about you? Yuju opened her mouth and said in a low voice, Shopkeeper Jean said we don't need it. It's just a bonus, Zhou Fu said expressionlessly, I'm going back to sleep. After saying that, he got up and went back to his room. Lying on the bed, he opened the page. Bronze Armor Art. Level 5, Physical Strengthening Level 1, Intermediate Damage Reduction Level 5, Intermediate Strength Strengthening Level 5, Hardness Level 1. The original, elementary, physical strengthening level had been removed, and now there was an additional hardness property. I'm already injured. What will you do? Chapter 99. The next day, in the cultivation room, Zhou Fu, who had just finished his inner strength cultivation, shook his head and sighed. Why isn't there a technique that can speed up the cultivation of inner strength? Through assistance, he could increase the level of a technique and comprehend its essence. Moreover, for passive techniques like bronze armor technique, it could directly reflect the effects of the technique and was especially useful. However, when it came to mental cultivation methods, it would lose its powerful effect. For these types of techniques, after leveling up, inner strength would increase, but the amount would be less and the comprehension would be more. If he used assistance to increase the level of a technique to increase his inner strength, the effect would be very poor. Even if it can't directly increase inner strength, it would be good to have a special effect that speeds up cultivation. Ideas were always beautiful, but reality was still cold and harsh. Walking out of the room, the sun shone down. Zhou Fu closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His entire body relaxed. Young master, didn't the doctor say to let you recuperate? Why did you go to cultivate again? Yuju walked over with a face full of worry. It's fine. Zhou Fu opened his eyes. That doctor isn't a martial artist, he doesn't know shit. He reached out to take the brewed medicinal tea, tilted his head, and poured the medicine bag into his mouth along with the soup. Ever since he leveled up the essence wheel, Zhou Fu became more arrogant when it came to food. Young master, that's a medicine bag. As the sun rotated, the cooling medicinal properties quickly evaporated. It's fine, you'll get used to it. Just as he put down the teacup, Jean Ping rushed in. When he saw Zhou Fu's condition, his face lit up. Sir, congratulations. Zhou Fu smiled. It's all because of the sect leader's good medicine. Oh right, why are you in such a hurry? Jean Peng's face instantly fell. He was in a difficult position. He said, Sir, it's like this, it's time to pay the rent for the Elysium. What? Zhou Fu's eyes widened in disbelief. Rent? The Elysium still needs to pay rent. In a society where brute force reigned supreme and where people would fight if they were unhappy, a gang like the giant whale actually had to pay rent. In response to Zhou Fu's question, Jean Peng explained with a wry smile, Yes, sir. This land doesn't belong to us. It was rented by one of the elders of the sect. Later on, this Elysium was built. Zhou Fu rubbed his head and felt a headache coming on. Could it be that the giant whale back then was a 5-good organization? Don't King talk nonsense, there must be something wrong here. Before I came, did the Elysium pay the rent? Jean Ping hesitated for a moment, then shook his head. No. A cold light flashed in Zhou Fu's eyes as he asked, My predecessor's surname is Liu, right? Yes, everyone calls him Boss Liu. In other words, this Boss Liu didn't pay rent. Now that I'm here, he has to pay rent? This Boss Liu, is he one of Shilong's men? Jean Peng couldn't help but tremble. He hurriedly lowered his head. Sir? Sir, I don't know. Zhou Fu smiled and didn't make things difficult for him. Does the headquarters know about the matter of collecting rent? I came to find you as soon as I could. These words were very well spoken. Not only did he answer the question, but he also put the focus on Zhou Fu. He pointed out that Zhou Fu was his superior and that he wouldn't report beyond his superior's authority. Report it and see what the headquarters says. Yes, I'll go do my work first. After speaking, Jean Ping ran away like a wisp of smoke. As the saying goes, when immortals fight, mortals suffer. He was young and had just become the head shopkeeper. He didn't want to die without knowing why. Collecting rent. Zhou Fu sneered again. He then began to practice the dragon embracing stance. The pale golden inner strength began to cover his bones. 4 hours later, Jean Ping ran into Zhou Fu's courtyard with an anxious look on his face with an envelope in his hand. Sir, there are 2 things. First, there's a reply from headquarters. Here it is. Then he handed over the envelope. Also, the people who collected the rent have come. Zhou Fu tore open the envelope and glanced at it. A burst of anger surged in his heart. The reply in the letter was very rude. It basically said that the headquarters never knew about the rent and wouldn't pay it. They wanted Zhou Fu to solve it himself. If he couldn't solve it, they would replace him. He suppressed the anger in his heart and asked, How many people? What do you mean? That is, our Elysium uses the land of 2 families. One is surnamed Chen and the other is surnamed Huang. They are both famous merchants in the eastern part of the city. Now, in order to collect rent, the managers of the 2 families have come together. Seeing Jean Peng's flustered expression, Zhou Fu was somewhat speechless. He felt that the manager he appointed was too cowardly. He stretched out his hand and patted Golden Rock's shoulder. Don't worry. Business can be discussed. Now that the headquarter has handed over all of this to me, I will naturally be responsible to the end. Go, find a quiet room. I will treat the 2 managers to a meal. Meal? Jean Peng looked at Zhou Fu in confusion. Although he was very puzzled, he still turned around and hurriedly went to carry out the orders. Looking at the courtyard door, Zhou Fu snorted. The qi and blood in his body rushed toward his chest and rushed toward the blood horse that he had condensed before. According to the tyrannical whale fist, after condensing a blood horse, one had to continuously use qi and blood to nurture it. Then, one could condense another blood horse. This blood horse could increase the cultivator's strength. Every additional horse would increase the cultivator's strength by 500 kilograms. At most, one could condense 10 horses. Of course, this was only recorded in the book. It was also recorded that after condensing 10 horses, there would be an even greater change. However, no one had succeeded in cultivating it, so it was only a guess. Zhou Fu wasn't sure if the records in the book were correct, but this blood horse could really increase his strength. Yuzhu, prepare a set of training clothes and a robe for me. Yes. In the guest room, Zhou Fu pushed the door open and entered. Whoosh! More than 10 pairs of eyes instantly looked over. There were more than 10 people in the room. There were 3 sitting at the round table, and one of them was Jean Peng. Seeing Zhou Fu enter, Jean Peng hurriedly stood up and introduced him to the 2 seated men. Gentlemen, this is the giant whale's external affairs representative, Mr. Zhou. He is also the manager of the Elysium. Zhou Fu walked directly to the main seat and sat down, looking at the 2 men. At this time, Jean Peng began to introduce them to Zhou Fu. One of them was in his 40s or 50s. His coat was white with some golden patterns on it. He looked very rich. This was the manager of the Huang family, Huang Mingyuan. The other man looked a little older than Huang Mingyuan. He looked cold and wore a black coat with golden edges. His name was Chen Gusi, the manager of the Chen family. The people of the Huang and Qin families were also sizing up Zhou Fu. However, when they saw Zhou Fu's overly young appearance, they sneered in their hearts. "You are external emissary Zhou, right? You are so young. You can be considered young and promising." Huang Mingyuan had a fake smile on his face. When these words came out of his mouth, it was covered with a layer of sarcasm. Zhou Fu nodded and didn't get angry. He just took off his coat and revealed the clothes inside. He said, "Everyone is busy. Let's talk about the rent." "Okay." Huang and Chen looked at each other and nodded. Huang Mingyuan said, "Zhou Fei is really straightforward. Then let's talk about it. This Elysium uses the land of our Huang and Qin families. It has been used for more than 10 years. Now it's time to calculate the rent, right?" As he spoke, he took out a piece of paper from his bosom. There were many seals on it. "This is the land deed of the Huang family. Zhou Fei, please take a look." Chen Gusi also took out a deed and placed it side by side. "This belongs to the Qin family." "That's not a problem." Zhou Fu didn't look at the deed. Instead, he looked into Huang Mingyuan's eyes and asked, "Since it has been used for 10 years, why didn't you collect rent?" Chapter 100. "Could it be that the two of you are bullying me because I'm young?" Zhou Fu said in a deep voice. A powerful aura rose from Zhou Fu's body, and the atmosphere in the room suddenly became heavy. "Impudent! How dare you!" Two reprimanding voices came from behind Huang and Chen. Behind them stood 2 guards. Not only that, there were 2 guards on each side of the room's door. These 8 guards protected Huang and Chen tightly. Huang Mingyuan smiled. The guards behind him burst forth with energy, counteracting Zhou Fu's aura. To him, it was just like being blown by the wind. "We've made a fool of ourselves in front of Zhou Fei. We're just ordinary merchants, so we hired some guards to protect us. Haha, my guards are at least at the 2nd level of the bone tempering stage." He looked at Zhou Fu with a smile that wasn't a smile, and his eyes were full of pride. "Brother Huang is right. My Chen family is the same. 8 bone-tempering guards." Zhou Fu's eyes flashed as he looked at Huang Mingyuan. Huang Mingyuan smiled and said, "Zhou Fei, in the past, your previous external envoy Lu was an unreasonable person. He relied on his high cultivation and the giant whale behind him to bully us at will. Now that the Elysium has changed its management, it shouldn't be the same as before, bullying ordinary people like us at will, right?" Chen Gusi nodded and said, "Zhou Fei is young and promising. To be able to reach such a position at such an age, you must be a righteous person." Huang Mingyuan continued, "Then, Zhou Fei, let's settle the matter of the rent first." Crash! A golden object that looked like an abacus slipped out of his sleeve. Patter, patter, Huang Mingyuan's fingers flew, and the golden beads constantly collided with each other. Zhou Fu looked at him with interest. To be exact, he was looking at the golden abacus in his hand. Recently, Zhou Fu's high daily expenses had been pressuring him. Especially in the past few days, he had been thinking about where to get money. Huang Mingyuan's actions suddenly gave him a new idea. The money was coming, but, with a crisp sound, everyone looked at Huang Mingyuan. "Zhou Fei, let's say that you're using it for 12 years. Of course, it's far longer than that. But we're all straightforward people. I'm sure Brother Chen doesn't have any objections, right?" Chen Gusi nodded. "I'll do as Brother Huang says. Brother Chen, you're too polite. I'll treat you to a meal later." Huang Mingyuan thanked him. Then he looked at Zhou Fu and said, "Zhou Fei, let's say that it's 12,000 taels a month. That's 728,000 taels for 12 years. Let's take a step back and round it off. It'll be 720,000 taels. What does Zhou Fei think?" 7 million taels? Zhou Fu grinned. This amount was enough for him to cultivate to the peak of bone forging. But 1 million taels isn't much. Hearing Zhou Fu say this, Huang and Chen looked at each other. Then they turned to look at Zhou Fu. Huang Mingyuan cupped his hands and said, "Zhou Fuwei is young and promising. Generous." Chen Gusi also cupped his hands and said, "Generous." Huang Mingyuan then asked, "Since this money doesn't enter Zhou Fuwei's eyes, I wonder, how will you give it to us?" Zhou Fu smiled and said, "No hurry, no hurry. We're all businessmen. I just happen to have a business here. I wonder if the two of you are willing to take part in it." "Business?" Huang Mingyuan and Chen Gusi both shook their heads and refused. "Zhou Fuwei, we're all small businesses. We can't take part in a big business like yours. Let's forget about it." "Don't," Zhou Fu stopped them. "If the Huang Jia and Chen family are small businesses, then who can say that this is a big business?" Huang Mingyuan cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for Zhou Fuwei's kindness, but we just want to get back the rent. As for the rest, we don't want to think about it." Finished speaking, he looked sincerely at Zhou Fu. Of course, Zhou Fu wouldn't let the two off. He continued to talk about random things, but he didn't mention the matter of rent. Gradually, Huang and Chen became impatient. Huang Mingyuan said lowly, "Zhou Fuwei, we really don't want to do any business. You don't need to say anything. However, you're rambling here and there. It can't be that you don't want to pay, right?" As soon as his voice fell, the 8 bone-forging imperial bodyguards in the room all stared at Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu shook his head. "The money will be paid. As for business, I still want the two of you to consider it." "Consider it?" Huang Mingyuan was so angry that he laughed. Zhou Fuwei said a lot of things, but he didn't talk about any business. "Do you think we're fools? Moreover, even if you want to do business, I don't know how Zhou Fuwei wants to do business with us, and what capital do you have to do business with us?" Zhou Fu stood up. Under the other's vigilant gaze, he said, "Then I'll let you see my capital first." Whoosh, a shadow flashed, and everyone instantly lost sight of Zhou Fu's figure. "Not good!" An imperial bodyguard standing behind Huang Mingyuan shouted. However, it was too late. Zhou Fu had already revealed himself. He was next to one of the imperial bodyguards behind Huang Mingyuan. He stretched out his large hand and fiercely clasped it into the flesh of the other's arm. His blood and chi surged, and a powerful force erupted. Bang! With a muffled sound, the bone in Zhou Fu's hand suddenly shattered. Countless tiny bone fragments pierced into the surrounding flesh. For a moment, a large amount of blood flowed out from between Zhou Fu's fingers and dripped onto the ground. "This is my capital!" Zhou Fu shouted. He clenched his right hand into a fist and suddenly punched out. With a bang, the fist penetrated the person's chest and came out from behind. At this moment, a strong wind blew. Zhou Fu pulled back his arm and ducked to avoid a palm from behind. He twisted his waist, turned around and punched. The swift and violent fist passed through the defense and crashed into the other's ribs. The fist force exploded. Boom! The person flew out as if he was hit by a car. Large amounts of blood gushed out from his mouth and nose. He looked like he was about to die. After killing 2 people, Zhou Fu's figure flashed and appeared between the other 2. He punched out with both fists. The violent fist force of the tyrannical whale fist was coupled with the enhancement of the fist art, Mountain Splitter. Zhou Fu directly smashed the arms of the 2 people who were blocking him. His fist continued to smash down, and the 2 people's chests caved in, instantly killing them. The room was filled with the smell of blood, but Zhou Fu was enjoying it. This was the after-effect of the tyrannical whale fist. Bone forging? Hee, just a bunch of trash. You want to threaten me? Bang! Zhou Fu's figure soared into the air and rushed towards the 4 imperial bodyguards at the door. He was like an eagle catching a chicken. "If you don't die after taking one of my punches, I'll let you leave." Overturn the sea. Boom! As his chi and blood rose, an illusion seemed to appear in the void beside Zhou Fu. It was an incomparably huge whale. It raised its huge tail and slammed it down. The incomparably terrifying power pressed down, causing the space to begin to tremble. Kill. Bang bang bang. The three figures were all smashed into the ground by Zhou Fu. Large amounts of blood splattered everywhere. This was not the end of it. Blood was still flowing out from these piles of flesh. I'll kill you. Whoosh. A cold light landed on Zhou Fu's chest. Ding. Bang. Zhou Fu looked at the imperial bodyguard who was holding a broken sword and punched out decisively. With a bang, the head of the last imperial bodyguard was shattered. Zhou Fu looked at Huang Mingyuan and Chen Gusi, who were dumbfounded. He said, "How is it? Is it enough for rent? Is it enough?" Chapter 101. Everyone in the room was dumbfounded. Not only Huang and Chen, but even Jin Peng and the giant whale gang members behind him looked at Zhou Fu in horror. From Zhou Fu's sudden attack to the death of all 8 bone forging guards, it took less than 10 seconds. Zhou Fu stood in a pool of blood, his entire body seething with murderous intent. He resisted the urge to beat Huang and Chen to death and secretly operated the Wisdom King scripture. The Buddha's shadow in his sea of consciousness formed the Wisdom King fearless seal, and a cool feeling spread from between his eyebrows. Huang Mingyuan's entire body trembled, perhaps because he was frightened by Zhou Fu. You actually dare?" This questioning tone made Zhou Fu frown. The other party didn't even have the awareness of a weakling. It seemed that he needed to tell the other party that there was a huge difference between the strong and the weak. Walking to the side of the table, Zhou Fu raised his right hand and slapped Huang Mingyuan's right hand. This slap seemed slow, but in reality, it contained power. Bang! The table shook violently. Ah! A mournful scream came from Huang Mingyuan's mouth, and everyone in the room looked over in horror. On the table, Huang Mingyuan's right hand was smashed into the table by Zhou Fu. Moreover, there were no cracks in the area where the palm was embedded. Zhou Fu nodded in satisfaction. It wasn't difficult to smash Huang Mingyuan's palm, and it wasn't difficult to smash the table. The difficult part was to smash Huang Mingyuan's palm into the table without damaging the other parts of the table. The control of power could be said to have reached a higher level. Walking to the main seat, Zhou Fu sat down, looking refreshed. He looked at Chen Gusi, who was constantly wiping his sweat, and asked, "Shopkeeper Chen, right? Tell me, do I have the strength to cooperate with you?" Being called out, Chen Gusi's entire body shuddered, and a layer of goosebumps instantly appeared on his back. He quickly nodded. Yes. According to Milord's strength, it's us who are climbing up the social ladder." Zhou Fu smiled faintly and ordered Jin Peng, "Go and write a certificate of transfer." Jin Peng looked at Zhou Fu with eyes full of fear. He never thought that his new boss would have such a strong killing intent. Even in the gangs, it would be difficult to find someone with a greater desire to kill than Zhou Fu. After hearing the order, he hurriedly got up, turned around, and ran out. A few minutes later, Jin Peng returned, trembling with fear. He was holding a wooden tray with paper and a pen on it. He bent over the table and began to write rapidly. Suddenly, he looked up at Zhou Fu and asked, "Sir, how much do you intend to pay for these 2 pieces of land?" "1 tael of silver." "1 tael." Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows and looked at Jin Peng. He scolded, "Why are you talking so much nonsense? Hurry up and write." "Please forgive me, sir. Please forgive me." With just this sentence, Jin Peng's forehead was already sweating slightly. Swish, swish, swish. "Sir, it's done." Zhou Fu took the completed contract and looked at it. Then, he placed it on the table and tapped the paper twice with his finger. He said calmly to Huang and Chen, "Sign it." Huang and Chen's expressions were very ugly, especially Huang Mingyuan's. At this time, his hand was still embedded in the table and had not been pulled out. "Zhou, Mr. Zhou, it's not that we don't want to sign it. Even if we sign it, it's useless." "Useless?" Zhou Fu looked at Chen Gusi and asked. "Yes, for such a big matter, it needs the family's seal." After Chen Gusi finished speaking, he turned to look at Huang Mingyuan. Yes, yes, yes. Brother Chen is right. It needs the family's seal. Otherwise, it's useless. Their words made Zhou Fu laugh. He was not stupid. These two clearly had bad intentions. Let's not talk about whether it's useful or not. The two of you have to sign it. As soon as he said this, Huang and Chen's faces turned as white as lead. The room was silent for a while. Then, Huang Mingyuan spoke first. Mr. Zhou, if you really do this, then you're going too far. Although our Huang and Chen clans are just merchant clans, we are not people who can be easily bullied. He stared at Zhou Fu and said in a low voice, Mr. Zhou, even if your martial arts are excellent, so what? This time you killed 8 guards. Our families still have 18, 28, or even more. When the time comes, can you still kill them all? For a moment, everyone's eyes were on Zhou Fu. Huang Mingyuan said again, Mr. Zhou, how about this? This time, our families were wrong. We don't want the rent. We'll sign it as proof. Just treat it as our families cooperating with the giant whale. When we go back later, we'll send gift. Let's put this matter behind us. What do you think? Following Huang Mingyuan's words, Jin Peng also turned to look at Zhou Fu. He felt that the other party was right. Now that the Huang and Chen families had waived the rent and sent gifts as compensation, the matter was very satisfactory. It was good to end it here. Under everyone's gazes, Zhou Fu suddenly said, Does the Huang and Chen families have experts at the Third Blood Transformation Realm? Third Blood Transformation Realm? Huang Mingyuan and Chen Gusi instantly shut their mouth. If they spoke the truth, it would be a complete betrayal of their families. Moreover, even if they spoke the truth, would the other party believe them? Zhou Fu looked at the Huang and Chen families and asked again, Are you really not going to sign it? The two were silent. Zhou Fu stood up and said, You were the ones who threatened me first. Now that I've killed your guards, you're the ones who want to negotiate. At this point, Zhou Fu sneered, Apologize? Let's end it here? As he spoke, he walked to Huang Mingyuan's side. Huff huff as Zhou Fu walked to his side, Huang Mingyuan's heart began to beat wildly. His whole body began to tremble, and a cold and numb feeling filled his upper body. He lowered his head and gasped for air. Zhou Fu's right hand covered Huang Mingyuan's hand that was embedded in the table. With a forceful grab, a large piece of the wooden table was pulled up. In the midst of Huang Mingyuan's screams, Zhou Fu squeezed the other party's hand until it exploded. Do you think I'm made of mud? Do you think I'm made of mud? But Zhou Fu raised his hand and slapped Huang Mingyuan, sending him flying and crashing into a chair with a bang. With a crashing sound, the wooden chair shattered into a pile. Huang Mingyuan also fell to the floor. I'm the giant whale's envoy, the person in charge of this Elysium. Zhou Fu walked to Chen Gusi's side and picked him up from the chair. He stared at the other party's constricted pupils because of fear. I'm not a child in school who can be bullied by others. Bang! All of a sudden, Chen Gusi was pushed back again. The chair he was sitting on cracked and fell to the ground. The pain on his butt stimulated Chen Gusi. He quickly got up, grabbed the pen on the table, and quickly signed his name on the contract. He even took out his seal and stamped it. These movements were so smooth that Huang Mingyuan, who was lying on the ground and howling not far away, was dumbfounded. Ha ha! Zhou Fu sneered and glanced at Jinping. This gave the golden rock a scare. He hurriedly stepped forward and put away the signed contract. Zhou Fu picked up Huang Mingyuan and opened the door. At this time, there were already Elysium's guards standing outside. He casually pointed. You guys prepare the carriage and take this trash to Huangjia to collect the debt. Chapter 102. The sun was setting in the west, east of Ning'an City. A carriage arrived in front of Huangjia's gate. Behind the carriage were more than 10 men on horseback. These men were all plump and fit with sabers at their waists. They exuded a fierce aura. Sir, Huangjia is here. A guard came to the side of the carriage and spoke carefully. After getting off the carriage, Zhou Fu looked at the tightly shut gate, then turned to look at the half-open side door and the servants of Huang Jia who were pointing at him. He sneered in his heart, "Someone is obviously playing dirty tricks behind my back, but they want me to deal with it myself while you guys hide behind and watch the show. Fine. I'll let you guys have a good time today." The giant whale's reply enraged Zhou Fu. This had nothing to do with him in the first place, yet they insisted on letting him clean up this mess. Wasn't this bullying? With a flick of his hand, he threw Huang Mingyuan, who looked like a lump of mud, to the accompanying guards and ordered, "Just watch." "Yes, sir." Zhou Fu took off his outer clothes, revealing his strong muscles. His veins were like rapidly growing tree roots, emerging from his upper arms and climbing up his forearms. He stepped onto the stone step. "Didn't you guys want me to practice the tyrannical whale fist? Today, I'll let you see if my tyrannical whale fist is to your liking." He crushed the wax coating on a blood and qi pill and swallowed it. Instantly, streams of blazing medicinal power spread out rapidly under the influence of the Yangming wheel. As his blood and qi rose, Zhou Fu's body suddenly grew taller, and his well-defined muscles began to swell. After 5 steps, a 2-meter-tall giant with arms thicker than a normal person's thigh appeared. In front of the gate, Zhou Fu felt relaxed and carefree. He laughed loudly and punched out. Boom! A large hole suddenly appeared in the red lacquered gate. Broken pieces of wood fell into the courtyard like rain. Clang! 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 An ear-piercing alarm sounded, and the shrill screams of the servants resounded through the sky above Huang Jia. As a big merchant, Huang Jia reacted quickly. The first echelon was made up of ordinary servants. Each of them held a long stick in their hands and stood in the middle of the courtyard. "Who are you? How dare you behave atrociously in my Huang Jia? Do you want to die?" An old man who looked like a housekeeper spoke with a firm voice even though his face was filled with fear. To think that he would dare to berate Zhou Fu at this moment. Seemed like the Huang family had pretty decent foundations after all. Zhou Fu calmly stood there. He looked at the other party and said, "Ordinary people can disperse. It doesn't matter how many of you below bone forging come, you don't even have the qualifications to scratch this grandfather's itch." These overbearing and unreasonable words caused the servants to panic. They knew that bone forging was one of the house's top masters. Normally, it was not easy to even see one of them. When the old man saw that the servants were panicking, he scolded, "How can you believe the words of a thief? Be quiet. Today we will fight the enemy together." This old man seemed to have a lot of prestige. After he scolded a few times, the servants gradually quieted down. Zhou Fu was speechless. Although they were courageous, they were on the enemy's side. Just looking at them made him annoyed. He was not willing to wantonly kill these ordinary people. Although there were 20 or 30 people on the other side, he could rush in for at most 10 seconds and beat them into a pile of flesh and blood. "Thief, don't look down on us." The old man began to scold Zhou Fu. His voice was full of energy. Zhou Fu gradually became angry. He had been waiting for almost 5 minutes, but Huang Jia's guards still hadn't come out. He turned his head and looked at the corridor next to the door. There were some pillars about 20 centimeters in diameter. He walked over and broke the pillar with a punch. Then, he grabbed one end and gently pulled it out. A 2-meter-long stick appeared in his hand. "Since you don't want to come out, I'll add some fuel to the fire." Zhou Fu's eyes flashed fiercely. He exerted force with his fingers and dug them into the pillar. Then, he twisted his waist and swung his arm. Like throwing a javelin, he threw half of the pillar into the depths of the house. Woo! When the pillar was thrown out, a low whining sound shook the scalps of the servants. Just now, when Zhou Fu tore down the pillar, they were already on the verge of collapse. Now that he did this, they instantly scattered like birds and beasts. "Mother! Monster! Run! I don't want to die! I don't want to die!" The old man's legs went soft and he sat on the ground. Then, he used his hands and feet to crawl to the side. Amidst the screams of collapse, the pillar crashed into the wall with a loud bang and created a big hole. It continued to fly inside. Looking at the clean space, Zhou Fu chuckled. He tapped the tip of his foot and used Flying Dragon's 5 zigzags to rush into the inner house. It was unknown if Zhou Fu's performance was too excessive. Along the way, he didn't even see a shadow of a person. Zhou Fu jumped onto the roof and glanced around. He grinned and said, "So you're all gathered together. That's great." Bang! With a loud bang, the roof collapsed in an instant. At the same time, Zhou Fu rushed toward the place where Huang Jia was gathered. He swept past the roofs and landed on the square. Good thief, die. As soon as Zhou Fu landed, several cold lights rushed toward him. You don't even know who I am, and you dare to rush up? Although these people who rushed up didn't even have the ability to leave a white mark on his skin, Zhou Fu still didn't want them to cut him. He waved his hand. It was as if it was cast from iron. Ping, 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 ping. Amidst the chaotic sounds, the long swords that were slashing toward him all broke. None of them could cut him. A bunch of trash. Those below the bone forging stage, get lost. Zhou Fu roared. His voice was like a thunderclap, causing everyone's faces to turn pale. However, this didn't mean that he would let these people go. His legs flew. Relying on his basic leg techniques, he kicked all the people who surrounded him away. After flying for a distance, those figures fell heavily on the ground. They were all dead. These people were all in the energy refining stage. Facing Zhou Fu's terrifying strength, they were far from being able to resist. The corpses that fell on the ground made the guards who wanted to go forward stop in their tracks. Thief! The Huang residence is not a place for you to behave atrociously. A loud shout came from the crowd. Following that, a figure soared into the sky. With a turn in the air, he rushed toward Zhou Fu. Ha ha! Finally, a decent one has come. However, one is too little. How many bone forging stage cultivators do you have? Come at me together. Zhou Fu laughed heartily and strode forward. Shameless boasting. Die. The person who came jumped down from the sky. He held the sword with both hands and chopped down with the force of a mountain. Zhou Fu shook his head. One is not enough. It's really not enough. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched at the cold light from his waist. Within his body, surging chi and blood surged. He followed the method of the tyrannical whale fist and struck out. Bang! The cold light exploded into specks of cold stars. The fist didn't slow down and smashed into a pair of fleshy palms. The fist and palm collided. The person's expression changed greatly. He watched as his arms broke. Before he could feel the pain, blood and bones were already squeezed out of his body. Immediately after, the fist landed on his chest. Boom! Amidst the explosion, a bloody mist soared into the sky. A tattered corpse fell in front of the crowd. The square was so quiet that even the sound of a pin dropping could be heard. Are all the bone forging stage cultivators in Huangjia dead? Get out here. Chapter 103. All of you back off. A loud voice rang out. At the same time, 6 figures flew out of the crowd and landed in front of the corpse. Following the person's instructions, the crowd surrounding Zhou Fu in the square began to retreat in an orderly manner. One of them bent down and tapped on the corpse a few times, saying, "Everyone, there's something strange about this kid." Old Zhong is also an old man at the 2nd level of the bone forging stage. Now, his arms were broken by a huge force. It's unbelievable. The other 5 people's faces darkened. They looked at Zhou Fu with more fear in their eyes. What else can you tell? The person who checked the corpse stood up, took a deep breath, and slowly exhaled. He didn't use any force. What? How can that be? Just as they were surprised, a Huangjia bodyguard quickly walked to them, whispered a few words, and then quickly retreated. Among the 6 people, the leader was a middle-aged man. He was also the one with the highest cultivation in the group, at the third level of the bone forging stage. I'm Ding Chuan. The middle-aged man took a step forward. The other 5 people instantly moved and surrounded Zhou Fu. Cold rays of light appeared in their hands, but no one stepped forward. Today, I'll bring my brothers and ask for advice from the new foreign affairs emissary of the giant whale. Kill! A series of shouts rang through the sky. 6 figures rushed toward Zhou Fu with powerful momentum. I've been waiting for you. Zhou Fu laughed. At this time, his body was full of qi and blood, and he was in peak condition. Bang! He suddenly exerted force on his feet and turned into a shadow. He avoided the Ding Chuan in front and rushed to the side, choosing a thin man with a short stick. Take my punch. Kill. Seeing Zhou Fu rushing toward him, the man was stunned at first, then anger rose from his chest. The situation in front of him was obviously treating him as a pushover. Good boy. Go to hell. Brown clouds gushed out from the man's body and wrapped around the short stick as if they were alive. Although he was angry, he was not stupid. Just how that bone-forging master had died, as well as the miserable state he had been in after his death, all of this reminded him that this Zhou Fu in front of him was not to be trifled with. Wung as the clouds and mist swirled around it, the entire short stick seemed to weigh 1,000 kilograms. The short stick pressed down and the air was squeezed apart. Boom! The fist and the stick collided. A circle of transparent ripples surged out. This strike is powerful. Zhou Fu's all-out punch only sent that person flying, but he was also stopped. At this moment, 5 attacks came from behind. Good timing. Zhou Fu's blood and qi were boiling. After he landed on the ground, he loosened his back and sat down. His 10 toes naturally dug into the ground. At this moment, the essence of rolling stone palm, thick earth force, was activated, allowing him to form a connection with the earth. At this time, the 5 attacks had already arrived in front of him. Zhou Fu brazenly punched out with both fists, and 5 distinct afterimages of his fists appeared in front of him. Each of his fists seemed to have a fierce horse galloping. Boom 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 boom. 5 roars of strength qi rang out. The solid ground instantly collapsed, and a large cloud of smoke and dust rose. Immediately after, 6 figures rushed out of the smoke and dust, pulling away from each other. This attack was just a test between everyone. Clang! The sound of fine iron falling to the ground rang out, and everyone turned to look. Among the 6 people, there was a person holding a long sword. At this moment, his face was filled with pain. His left hand was pressing on his right hand that was holding the sword. His eyes were full of hatred as he stared at Zhou Fu. He gritted his teeth and said, "There's a problem with that kid's strength. That son of a bitch. He didn't tell us." A vague name flashed past. The other 5 people were silent. They had also faced Zhou Fu's attack head-on. Although their injuries were not as serious as this person's, their arms were still sore. At this time, the person holding the short stick could not bear it anymore. He grimaced and said, "Everyone, this kid's fist strength, I estimate it to be at least 3,000 kilograms. What's the difference between this and a person in the blood transformation realm?" For a moment, everyone's faces were even more unsightly. They were all in the bone-forging realm, and they were not the type who focused on strength. If they attacked with all their strength, it would be good if they could hit 1,000 kilograms. At this time, they also understood that the corpse on the ground had died with no regret. "It's not that bad." As the leader of this group, Ding Chuan spoke up. At this moment, if he did not speak up, this group of people would probably think of running away. Everyone looked over. Ding Chuan said, "Although this kid's strength is amazing, his cultivation is very low. Through the exchange just now, I can feel that he has not reached the bone-forging realm yet." "What? How is that possible?" These people were all shocked by Zhou Fu's terrifying strength, so they ignored the matter of cultivation. Ding Chuan's face was gloomy. He nodded and said, "That's right. That kid does not have the special bone strength of someone in the bone-forging realm. I can feel that although his strength is strong, it is still at the training realm." As soon as these words came out, everyone was silent. A person who had not even reached the bone-forging realm had the strength of someone in the blood-changing realm. How could they encounter such a strange thing? Ding Chuan's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. "Since we can't fight this kid head-on, then we'll use the inescapable snare formation," the person holding the short stick said. "Even if we use the inescapable snare formation, we might not be able to trap him, right? Then let's use the heaven transformation formation." The few of them spoke very quickly, and it only took a little more than 10 seconds. After Zhou Fu landed, he took a few steps back. The stone slabs under his feet were all broken. Only then did he dissipate the force. 3,000 kilograms? He also heard some of the words on the other side. Blood-changing realm? So someone in the blood-changing realm can hit a force of 3,000 kilograms. But what is bone force? Zhou Fu thought for a moment, then shook his head. "Forget it. Let's beat them down first. The one who survives will talk to me." His figure flashed again, and in a flash, he crossed a distance of dozens of meters. Again, he punched out a huge fist. This time, he increased his strength again. At the same time, he secretly activated his qi and blood, constantly squeezing it toward the blood horse. At this time, the blood horse was surrounded by a red light, and it had already begun to emit light. Seeing Zhou Fu rush up, the 6 people looked at each other and attacked together. Boom, boom, boom. Rings of energy continued to explode. In the smoke and dust, 7 figures flashed rapidly. The 6 people attacked together to force Zhou Fu back. Ding Chuan shouted, "Get ready!" Zhou Fu's heart tightened. Attack! 6 attacks wrapped in clouds and mist of various colors fell. No matter how many times you attack, it's still useless. It's useless. Zhou Fu smashed the attack with a punch. Just as he was about to chase after them, he suddenly felt that the top of his head darkened. His body and mind shook, and his body fell down. His hands and feet alternately bombarded the ground, and with the force of the rebound, he quickly rushed to the other side. When Zhou Fu rushed out of the attack range, he turned around and saw several large nets falling on the ground. This was not an ordinary net. There were many sharp barbs inside. At a glance, one would feel a chill run down their spine. At the same time, a few people with long tubes in their hands walked out of the crowd. One end of the tube was facing Zhou Fu. Release. Bang, bang, bang. A burst of white smoke rose, and several black streams of water attacked. Zhou Fu turned his feet, and the water streams fell to the ground. Sizzle! Sizzle! A pungent smell filled the air, and the ground was corroding at an extremely fast speed. Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. How could there be strong acid? Humph! You're quick to dodge. Seeing that their attack had failed, Ding Chuan and the others looked even worse. Brothers, follow me and continue to block. Ding Chuan turned to look at the guards beside him and ordered, "Get ready again!" Yes. The situation in front of him made Zhou Fu feel suffocated. He originally wanted to use this battle to improve his fighting skills. Who knew that the opponent would use such a deadly weapon? I can't continue. Let's kill. After making up his mind, Zhou Fu suddenly increased his speed. Before the others could react, he was in front of the person holding the short stick. Try this punch. Overturn the sea. Boom. A huge amount of blood rushed to the sky, and a giant beast vaguely appeared. Oh no! The man wielding the rod widened his eyes in shock. His entire body's strength surged into the weapon without any regard for his life, and he brazenly struck out. Boom! This punch from above directly shattered the surrounding floor, and a violent force swept out in all directions. Not bad, you actually took it. The short stick bent and fell to the ground. The person's arms were already broken. White bones pierced through his elbows, and a large amount of blood gushed out. Dong! Dong! Zhou Fu's heart suddenly beat more vigorously. In his body, the blood horse emitted a dazzling light. Then, the light trembled and split into two balls of light. The red light slowly faded, and two blood-red ponies appeared. Boom! Suddenly, an even more terrifying aura rose from Zhou Fu's body. Try this punch again. Overturn the sea. Boom! Before the others could come to rescue him, a bloody mist rushed toward them. They were shocked and hurriedly dodged, but their bodies were still stained with blood. Ta-ta-ta! Zhou Fu stepped on clear footsteps and walked toward the 5 people who were frightened. Next, each of you will have a punch. Whether you live or die, it will depend on your fate. The 5 people were shocked. How could they not understand that Zhou Fu had broken through in the middle of the battle? Kill! The violent fist force enveloped them. They looked at each other. If they ran separately, they would definitely die because Zhou Fu's movement was not slower than theirs. If they stayed together, they might have a chance to survive. Kill! Boom! Zhou Fu threw 3 punches in an instant. The first punch scattered the combined attack of the 5 people. The second punch broke the weapons in their hand. With the third punch, the thick blood mist once again spread out. When the smoke and dust dissipated, only Zhou Fu was left standing in the shattered square. Zhou Fu turned to look at the guards who had begun to disperse. He was about to chase after them when the crowd suddenly became chaotic. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and rushed over. Mr. Zhou, please show mercy. A middle-aged man shouted and knelt down. Mr. Zhou, Huang Jia is willing to pledge allegiance to you, sir. In the crowd, there were a few guards who were holding a few old men in luxurious clothes and forcing them to kneel. Mr. Zhou, we are willing to pledge allegiance to you, sir. In an instant, everyone knelt down. Chapter 104. Zhou Fu looked at the man kneeling at the front and asked, "Give me a reason not to kill you." Before coming here, Zhou Fu had no intention of slaughtering the Huang Jia. His purpose this time was to kill all the guards of the Huang Jia, and then kill a few of the higher-ups to intimidate them. Before leaving, he would take some compensation for the psychological damage to subsidize his daily expenses. Moreover, with his current strength and influence, he couldn't do such a thing. After all, there were hundreds of people in the Huang Jia, and Zhou Fu was only one person. He couldn't split himself, and a large number of people would definitely run away. In this way, it was better to intimidate them and then take some things away. Sir, my name is Huang Mingdao. I'm the second son of the Huang Jia. Huang Mingdao turned around and pointed to the back, where a few old men in luxurious clothes were kneeling. It's them. Under the influence of the Chen family, they did something unfavorable to you. Zhou Fu stretched out his hand and interrupted him. He said, I'm not interested in the cause of this matter. Tell me, why should I let you go? The square suddenly quieted down. Pairs of eyes looked at Huang Mingdao with expectation, desire, and hatred. 1 million taels. Every month. Huang Mingdao suddenly raised his head. As long as you accept the Huang Jia's allegiance, we Huang Jia will give you 1 million taels every month. Also, the warehouse of the Huang Jia will belong to you. Money. This was a good thing. Especially for the current Zhou Fu. Seeing that Zhou Fu was silent, Huang Mingdao continued, Sir, you still want to go to the Chen family, right? Let's not talk about other things. The guards of the Huang Jia can help you solve some small problems. This sentence made Zhou Fu's heart move. He thought of the net that fell from the sky just now, and the strong acid that could corrode brick. Under everyone's gaze, Zhou Fu slowly nodded. I agree. Huang Mingdao and the people behind him shouted excitedly, Thank you, sir. Thank you, my lord. What does Huang Jia do? After fighting for a long time, Zhou Fu still didn't know what Huang Jia was doing. Following Zhou Fu's question, the square once again fell silent. This time, even Huang Mingdao's expression became awkward. You've almost wiped out Huang Jia's entire force, Yet you still don't know what Huang Jia is doing. My lord, the Huang Jia's main business is the restaurant. They also do some grain trading. Restaurant? Grain merchant? Zhou Fu's eyes flashed and he said, take out a part of the monthly offerings and exchange it for things. Someone will talk to you about the details later. Yes. Now that the Huang Jia had pledged allegiance to Zhou Fu, he wasn't afraid that they would go back on their word. Even if they changed, so what? He could just kill them again. Zhou Fu stood up and said, we'll do as you said just now. Now prepare the men and follow me to the Qin family. Huang Mingdao's heart trembled and he hurriedly replied, yes. After giving the order, Zhou Fu turned around and walked outside. At this time, Huang Mingdao turned around and waved at the guards. Then, with a burst of screams, the Huang Jia elders who were escorted here were all beheaded. Zhou Fu, who was walking, naturally heard these sounds. He suddenly thought of Zhou Ji and sighed. Alas! The second branch, outside the Huang Jia's gate, the guards who were waiting outside suddenly became nervous. When they saw that it was Zhou Fu who came out, they relaxed again. However, after seeing the large number of guards behind Zhou Fu, not only were they nervous, they were also terrified. There were so many people in front of them, they couldn't beat them. At this time, a young man in his 20s ran out and respectfully came to Zhou Fu's side. He bowed and said, Sir, my name is Huang Feng. I will follow you to the Qin family. Zhou Fu nodded and pointed to Huang Mingyuan, who was being detained by the Elysium guards. He said, you can deal with this person yourselves. Huang Mingyuan looked at Huang Feng and suddenly widened his eyes. As a former high-ranking member of the Huang Jia, he could roughly guess some things. Therefore, he excitedly twisted his body. Huang Feng quickly nodded, thank you, sir. He walked over and leaned over to Huang Mingyuan's ear and whispered, Uncle, save your strength. Auntie and big brother haven't gone far. You can see them later. Of. 2 lines of tears flowed out from Huang Mingyuan's eyes. His whole body was like a deflated balloon, limp on the ground. He looked completely lifeless. Then, Huang Feng waved his hand. Bring him in. 2 Huang Jia guards walked over and dragged Huang Mingyuan into the Huang residence. Let's go. Following Zhou Fu's order, 70 to 80 people armed with weapons formed a team and set off towards the Qin family. In the carriage, Huang Feng saw Chen Gusi sitting on the ground as soon as he entered. Chen Gusi also saw Huang Feng. Yo, isn't this head shopkeeper Chen? I'm Huang Feng. Greetings, head shopkeeper Chen. Chen Gusi was so shocked that his body began to tremble. You, Huang Feng smiled and said, don't worry, head shopkeeper Chen. Let's go to the Chen family now. Chen Gusi's body went limp. He closed his eyes and lamented in his heart, the Huang Jia is finished. The Chen family. What should we do? In front of the Chen family. Zhou Fu had just gotten out of the carriage when he saw a man standing in front of the gate. He looked somewhat arrogant and looked at Zhou Fu with a sense of ridicule. Did he come prepared? Or was there some kind of trap? Zhou Fu frowned. That man's gaze made him very uncomfortable. He made up his mind. Who cares? I'll beat him up first. After making up his mind, Zhou Fu stamped his feet and suddenly rushed out. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of that man. That man was suddenly shocked. The expression on his face was no longer the same as before. Stop! In the man's frightened eyes, a fist imprinted on his chest. Bang! There was a huge explosion. That man was directly sent flying. He crashed through the gate and smashed into the courtyard. After killing that man, Zhou Fu looked around and found that there were only a few frightened servants in the courtyard. He walked forward, stretched out his hand, and pulled down the gate. Let me see what you're hiding in this courtyard. Woo-woo, the low sound of the wind was heard. The 2 wide doorboards were swung up by Zhou Fu and smashed into the depths of the courtyard. Boom boom. Accompanied by 2 loud sounds, smoke and dust rose into the air. There were also bursts of screams. Everything that happened in front of him made Zhou Fu confused. The ambush that he imagined did not appear. Moreover, the way of dealing with it was not as good as Huang Jia's. Huang Feng led the people of Huang Jia to Zhou Fu's back. Looking at the horrible scene in front of them, everyone's heart skipped a beat. One must know that an hour ago they were still enemies. Sir, let us search this courtyard. Please take a rest first. After saying that, Huang Feng waved his hand. The guards were divided into small teams of 5 people and rushed in quickly. As information came in one after another, Zhou Fu nodded with satisfaction. He decided in his heart that in the future, when fighting, he must bring his underlings. At least it would save him a lot of effort. Sir, there are only some servants of the Chun family in the front yard. There are also a few guards. We have already taken them down. More than a dozen people were pushed in front of Zhou Fu. Kneel down. After a series of punches and kicks, the servants and guards of the Chen family all knelt down. Zhou Fu waved his hand casually. Let them lead the way. Find all the high-ranking members of the Chen family. Yes, sir. A group of Huang Jia's guards grinned and looked at the Chen family servants, who were curled up like quails. Chapter 105. The structure of the Chen family was similar to that of the Huang Jia, except that it was bigger. Zhou Fu and his group were led by the Chen family servants to the square in front of the Chen family's meeting hall. As expected, a large number of guards had already gathered here. The Chen family members were not surprised to see Zhou Fu and his group. Zhou Fu, look at what you've done. Following a shout, a burly figure walked out of the crowd. The man was about 30 years old. He was tall and had a cold face. He looked at Zhou Fu as if he was looking at a subordinate who had made a mistake. He was condescending and angry. Zhou Fu was frustrated, but he was also puzzled. Who was this man? Did he know him? The man said to himself, a young boy who thinks he has some talent and does whatever he wants. He's simply lawless. Zhou Fu frowned at him and shouted, Who the hell are you? The man paused and looked at Zhou Fu in disbelief. He asked, You don't know me? Nonsense. Should I know you? The man seemed to be very angry. His chest was heaving up and down. Good. 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 You've got guts. Zhou Fu tore off his clothes and threw them to the guards behind him. He took a step forward and a huge amount of blood energy was emitted. Hot steam rose, causing the air around him to distort slightly, as if he was a huge fireball. If you don't tell me, I'll beat you to death. Don't complain. He could see that the strange man in front of him was an expert. He was more powerful than the people he had met before. However, his words instantly angered the man. Bastard, you really don't know me. I'm the Giant Whale's Foreign Affairs Envoy. Zhao Wanshan. Giant Whale's Foreign Affairs Envoy? Zhao Wanshan? A gang member? Zhou Fu frowned. So it's Zhao Foreign Envoy. What is Zhao Foreign Envoy doing here? Seeing Zhou Fu's indifferent expression, Zhao Wanshan was even angrier. He had received news that the people he sent to stop Zhou Fu had been killed. This was equivalent to a slap in his face. But now, after he reported his name, this Zhou Fu was actually indifferent, and even asked him a question. What was this? Was a slap not enough? Was he going to step on him? If he didn't teach Zhou Fu a lesson today, he, Zhao Wanshan, wouldn't be able to survive in Jianghu in the future. Seeing that Zhao Wanshan was only concerned with his anger, Zhou Fu said, Zhao Foreign Envoy, if there's nothing else, please go to the side and rest. The Chen family has bullied me too much. I'll talk to Zhao Foreign Envoy after I resolve this grudge. It was already late. Zhou Fu didn't want to stay here any longer. He only wanted to take down the Chen family as soon as possible. On the way here, he had already learned from Huang Feng that the Chen family was in the medicine business. Not only did they have their own supply channels, but they also had alchemists and doctors. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that they were making a lot of money every day. If he could take down the Chen family, then Zhou Fu's wallet would be filled with money. On the other side, Zhao Wanshan was furious. According to the time he joined the gang, he considered himself Zhou Fu's senior. According to seniority, he was in the same group as Elder Wu Jianye, who had recommended Zhou Fu to join the gang. However, Wu Jianye had a fortuitous encounter and his power soared, so he became an elder. Now that he saw Zhou Fu, who he considered a junior, acting so arrogantly in front of him, how could he not be angry? "Junior, you're too arrogant. My giant whale has been in contact with the Chun family for a long time. But you, little brat, actually dared to come to our door without knowing what's right or wrong. If I wasn't here today, you would have caused a disaster." At this time, an old man walked to Zhao Wanshan's side and cupped his hands to Zhou Fu. He said, "I'm Chunli. Greetings to Zhou Fei." Chunli looked to be in his 60s or 70s, but he was full of energy. "I think there must be some misunderstanding between Zhou Fei and the Chun family today. Why don't we sit down and clear up the misunderstanding?" His tone was sincere, like an old grandpa next door. Moreover, the Chun family values a young hero like Zhou Fei very much. If we clear up the misunderstanding and have a chat, it'll be a good story. Zhou Fu scratched his head and signaled the guards behind him to bring Chen Gusi over. After a while, Chen Gusi was brought over by two guards. Zhou Fu grabbed Chen Gusi and asked in a low voice, "Is this your home?" When they arrived at the square, Chen Gusi looked at the situation in front of him and suddenly felt relieved. The two sides didn't fight, and they even called him over. Could it be that there was a turning point? "Yes, this is my home. Is your family really in the medicine business? And there are doctors and alchemists?" "Yes." Chen Gusi nodded repeatedly. He thought, it seems that Zhou Fu already knows the strength of the Qin family and wants to cooperate with the Qin family. Zhao Wanshan and Qinli saw that Zhou Fu brought Chen Gusi over and was still talking with his head lowered. They looked at each other and thought that Zhou Fu was going to give in. Seeing this, Chunli was relieved. As long as Zhou Fu apologized later and he gave some gifts, everything would be fine. However, Zhao Wanshan was very unhappy. His men were beaten by Zhou Fu and lost face in front of everyone by Zhou Fu. He wanted to get back his face, but in the current situation, it was impossible. On the other side, after Zhou Fu finished speaking, he waved his hand and asked his men to take Chen Gusi away. He turned to Zhao Wanshan and shouted, "Zhao Wanshan, I was humiliated by the Chun family for no reason. You and I are both giant whale external affairs emissaries, but you don't know right from wrong. Not only are you helping outsiders, but you also want to stop me from taking revenge. What is the reason? Get out of my way." Zhao Wanshan was stunned. Chunli was also stunned. Everything was fine just now, and they were about to negotiate. What was the situation now? Zhou Fu took a step forward and shouted, "Are you going to get out of my way or not?" His voice was loud like a bell. Zhao Wanshan only felt hot blood rushing to his head. Anger exploded in his heart, burning his internal organs. "Little bastard, I must teach you a lesson. Take this." In the roar, Zhao Wanshan rose into the air. The yellow clouds around him instantly spread out. In the clouds, there was a faint yellow light. "Take this." A heavy pressure was emitted from the clouds, enveloping Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. He only felt the air around him suddenly sink, as if there was a heavy object pressing down. Zhou Fu's feet suddenly exerted force. His whole body soared into the sky, and he threw a punch. Pung pung pung. A series of roars sounded. The two figures kept flashing. At this time, Zhao Wanshan was greatly shocked. He was now at the peak of the bone-forging realm, and was half a step into the blood transformation realm. Moreover, because of the particularity of his cultivation method, his strength was much greater than others of the same level. Although he was now at the half-step blood transformation realm, his strength had already exceeded 3,000 caddies. He was completely at the level of the first blood transformation realm. As for Zhou Fu, He knew that he was a junior who had not even reached the bone-forging realm. Yet, he was able to exchange so many moves with him and not be at a disadvantage. Boom! A circle of transparent ripples exploded between the two of them. They took advantage of the situation to retreat. Kid, you really are a talented person. Zhao Wanshan suddenly looked at Zhou Fu with emotion. The anger on his face had mostly dissipated. He looked at Zhou Fu with some emotion in his eyes. There was even some nostalgia. Was this person crazy? Zhou Fu frowned. He did not want to talk to strange people. Otherwise, who knew what strange things would happen? Seeing that the other party's emotions were much more restrained, he asked in a low voice, Zhao Foreign Envoy, do you really want to stop me? Zhao Wanshan was silent for a moment. He said, I was asked to do this. I have no choice. But we are all from the same gang. Naturally, we can't go too far. How about this 3 moves? You and I will use all our strength to exchange 3 moves. After 3 moves, I will no longer care about this matter. Good. Zhou Fu nodded. 3 moves it is. Come! Come! Boom! 2 powerful auras soared into the sky and collided with each other. Zhao Wanshan shouted loudly, Brat, take my first palm mountain push. As soon as his voice fell, Zhao Wanshan pushed both of his hands forward, and an imposing aura as heavy as a mountain rushed forward. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. He wanted to compete with him in strength. Suddenly, a surge of hot blood spread from his heart. Come! He shouted. His feet touched the ground. The pale golden internal energy in his body surged into his fist. A layer of bronze appeared on his skin. He punched out like a diamond hammer. Bang! The fist and palm collided. The violent internal energy exploded between the two. The surrounding stone slabs were like they were hit by a bomb and instantly shattered. They were evenly matched. Both of them took 3 steps back and looked at each other. At this time, Zhao Wanshan's heart was like a stormy sea. His eyes unconsciously widened. He exclaimed in his heart, This is bronze armor art. This is King bronze armor art. As the opponent, Zhou Fu instantly noticed something wrong with Zhao Wanshan. Because they were on the same side, he frowned and asked, Zhao Foreign Envoy, are you going to fight or not? Zhao Wanshan stared at Zhou Fu. His eyes were filled with curiosity, astonishment, and confusion. This made Zhou Fu completely confused. Zhao Foreign Envoy. This voice shook Zhao Wanshan's entire body. At this moment, there seemed to be thousands of words in his eyes. He opened his mouth, but swallowed the words back. He nodded fiercely and said, Fight! Why not fight? There are still 2 moves left. Take it. Zhao Wanshan got into a fighting stance as streaks of yellow mist wrapped around his arms. He stared at Zhou Fu and said, This punch of mine is called the sky-hitting pillar. Take it. After he finished speaking, he punched out. Heavy pressure rushed toward Zhou Fu from all directions. I also have a punch. It's called Mountain Splitter. Take it. Zhou Fu's blood and qi started to boil. Violent power was constantly gathering. Mountain Splitter. Boom. A thunderous explosion resounded. Countless crushed stones were swept up by the berserk energy and smashed in all directions like a torrential rain of pear blossoms. After the punch, the sleeves on Zhao Wanshan's arms were all torn. He didn't care about the soreness on his arms. He grinned, and there seemed to be tears in his eyes. He said in his heart, Iron Bone's secret scroll. Ha 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 ha. Last punch. Zhao Wanshan rushed forward. Like a giant beast, he smashed through the smoke and dust. Earth shaking. Zhou Fu's hair stood on end. He felt a sense of danger. He also shouted, Overturn the sea. The blazing blood and qi violently smashed the surrounding pressure. Vaguely, a giant beast rushed out. Boom. Boom. Chapter 106. The deafening sound echoed in the Chen family square. The ordinary people below all covered their ears in pain. Zhou Fu and Zhao Wanshan landed on the ground. At this time, their clothes had long been torn into strips of cloth. Puff! After landing, Zhao Wanshan's body shook. His face first turned red, and then he spat out a mouthful of blood. Zhou Fu was in a worse state. There were many wounds on his arms, and blood kept flowing out. Cough, cough. Blood trickled down from the corner of his mouth. Good fist technique. Good strength. Zhou Fu panted, calming the muscles and meridians on his arms that were in pain. Just now, when he and Zhao Wanshan exchanged blows, his opponent's internal strength was exceptionally flexible. So much so that he had to use 10 portions of his internal strength to wear down 1 portion of his opponent's internal strength. Zhao, foreign envoy, now that 3 punches have passed, do you still want to stop me? As he spoke, his eyes were fixed on his opponent. Ha ha! Zhao Wanshan seemed to be very happy. He shook his head. I said 3 moves, so it's 3 moves. I still have to save my face for dinner. As he spoke, he walked in front of Zhou Fu. Under Zhou Fu's cautious gaze and defensive posture, Meng Qiao quickly said in a soft voice, "Don't use bronze armor art anymore. There's a precious skill called Yellow Dragon's Body Protection in the sect. It can hide the abnormality of your bronze armor art." These words of concern stunned Zhou Fu. Although he felt it was strange, he still said, "I can't borrow a profound level technique now." Profound level technique? Zhao Wanshan shook his head. That's a yellow stage technique. This time, Zhou Fu was even more confused. A yellow stage technique is called that? He couldn't help but raise his voice. There's a yellow stage technique called splitting heaven and earth palm. Is there a problem? Zhou Fu was speechless. Alright, you just need to remember it. While the two of them were chatting, the Chen family couldn't wait any longer. Chun-Li frowned as he looked at the 2 figures. His eyes glinted. Elder, what do we do now? A middle-aged man came to Chun-Li's side and spoke in a deep voice. Now that Zhao Wanshan won't interfere, and they're all injured if… Chun-Li raised his hand to stop the middle-aged man from continuing. However, the expression on the middle-aged man's face was extremely anxious. Elder, this is an opportunity that cannot be missed. Otherwise, our Chen family will be in big trouble. Enough! Chun-Li shouted in a low voice, his eyes full of struggle. Elder! Elder! Give the order! One by one, figures appeared behind Chun-Li. They were all members of the main branch of the Chen family. Chun-Li looked at these people with a complicated expression. They were the backbone of the Chen family, and now they had to sacrifice their lives. Elder, if we don't fight, we'll definitely die. If we fight, we might still have a chance of survival. Chun-Li slowly closed his eyes and nodded. Then let's do it. At this point, there was nothing he could do to stop them. Even if he objected, these people would still try. He might as well give it a try. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 8 figures charged towards Zhou Fu and Zhao Wanshan. Zhou Fu immediately raised his head and sneered. He was injured, but with the support of the 6th level of the Eternal Spring Force, his internal injuries had healed by 90%. Even the wound on his arm had healed. Zhao Wanshan turned around abruptly, and a fierce look appeared in his eyes. Looking at the Chen family's stance, they wanted to kill him as well. Chen family, you're courting death. Before he could do anything, Zhou Fu stepped forward and said, Zhao foreign envoy, this is my problem. Let me deal with it. Without waiting for Zhao Wanshan's response, he gestured to Huang Jia's bodyguard and charged out. Good boy. The fierce look in Zhao Wanshan's eyes disappeared, and he looked at Zhou Fu in amazement. You haven't even forged your bones, but you already have a strength of 2,000 Jin. If I didn't have the Iron Bone secret scroll to protect myself, my bones would have been broken today. On the other side, Zhou Fu, who was facing the Chen family, had already used all his means. He no longer had any scruples. With the help of the whale fist, his terrifying strength was like a ferocious beast charging into a flock of sheep. Blood and chi filled the air as soon as they met face to face. The battle came to an end in a very short period of time, and in a bloody manner. The 8 people who had charged forward had been reduced to 8 piles of flesh and blood. Old man Chen, is there a second branch in your family that can come out and work for me? Zhou Fu walked over to Chunli, who was sitting on the ground with a bloody aura around him. At this moment, Chunli was completely different from before. He was in a daze, as if his tendons and bones had been pulled out. When he heard Zhou Fu's words, a glimmer of light appeared in his eyes. He asked excitedly, "Zhou Fuwei, is what you said true?" For some reason, Zhou Fu suddenly felt a trace of sorrow in his heart. However, this did not affect his decision. If it wasn't for his superior martial arts, then the one who would be miserable today would definitely be him. Of course it's true. The main branch of the Qin family must be wiped out, and then the side branches will work for me. Chunli stood up shakily and bowed to Zhou Fu. This old man thanks Zhou Fuwei for your great kindness. Elder, this person slaughtered our Qin family. Why did you? Zhou Fu's eyes turned cold. His figure suddenly blurred, and when he appeared again, he was already in front of the person who spoke. He grabbed the person's head with his big hand. Why are you so talkative? Before he finished speaking, he swung his right hand and punched out like a meteor hammer. Bang! Crack! The 2 halves of the corpse were smashed into the ground. Chunli closed his eyes in pain, and 2 streams of tears flowed down. As the main branch of the Qin family, of course, I have to take responsibility. Where is Qin Guhong from the second branch? A middle-aged man hurriedly walked out. Elder Guhong is here. Chunli nodded. From now on, the Qin family depends on you. When I'm gone, you have to listen to Mr. Zhou. Remember? Qin Guhong struggled for a moment. It was also at this time that all the guards of the Qin family were killed. The rest of them also knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Seeing this, Qin Guhong nodded vigorously. I understand. Then he turned to Zhou Fu and bowed. Qin Guhong greets Mr. Zhou. Zhou Fu nodded and said, You take care of the main branch of the Qin family. His cold tone made Qin Guhong tremble all over. Finally, he squeezed out a word from between his teeth. Yes. After the matter was settled, he said to Huang Feng, who was walking over, You keep an eye on the Qin family's warehouse. If there are any strange movements, you can deal with it. If you can't handle it, come to me. Yes, sir. Then, Zhou Fu came in front of Zhao Wanshan and said, Zhao Foreign Envoy, why don't you come to my Elysium? He also guessed Zhao Wanshan's identity. He must be a member of the Body Refining Hall, and now he was a disciple of the giant whale. Elysium? Zhao Wanshan smiled strangely and shook his head. He whispered, Boy, be careful in the future. We can't get too close. We'll talk about other things later. Then his tone suddenly changed. Boy, you've done such a terrible thing today. Wait for the faction leader's punishment. I won't accompany you anymore. Then he turned and left, his face extremely ugly. Zhou Fu silently looked at his back as he left. He sighed in his heart, Sure enough, I can't communicate with strange people. Look, I got into trouble just because of a few words. Chapter 107. After settling the matter with the Qin family, Zhou Fu sat in the carriage to go home. While the carriage was shaking, he kept recalling Zhao Wanshan's words. Suddenly, he ordered, Go to the dock. Quickly. Yes. The carriage suddenly accelerated, startling the passers-by and causing them to scream and run away. They were very fast and arrived at the dock from the Qin family in about half an hour. At this time, there happened to be a giant whale ship docked at the dock. Zhou Fu lifted the curtain and used the carriage as a stepping stone. His figure flew and landed on the bow of the ship. Who is it? The people on the ship reacted quickly and surrounded him with torches. After seeing Zhou Fu's face and the identity card on his waist, the leader of the ship hurriedly saluted, Greetings, Sir External Envoy. Zhou Fu nodded and said, Now, go to the headquarters as fast as you can. The ship's leader opened his mouth and looked a little embarrassed. But when he saw a cold light flashing in Zhou Fu's eyes, he suddenly quivered and hurriedly turned around and shouted, "Set sail! Set sail! Quickly! Go to the headquarters!" The sailors on the ship instantly became busy, and the sound of running and shouting was constantly heard. Under the control of the boatmen, the ship slowly withdrew from the dock and sailed into the river. The long sails were hung up and long oars extended out of the hull as the ship began to accelerate. The wind was blowing in the right direction tonight, and the journey was smooth sailing. The journey that used to take 2 hours each way only took 1.5 hours this time. When they arrived at the headquarters dock, Zhou Fu jumped down and asked the giant whale to call a carriage and went straight to the headquarters Martial Cultivation Building. In front of the Martial Cultivation Building, Zhou Fu stepped into it. After entering, he glanced around and found that there were no protective cultivation methods on the first floor, so he stepped up to the second floor. When he reached the second floor, just as he was about to walk to the bookshelf, he suddenly changed his mind and turned to the old man Xing Jingtu who was guarding the building. When he came in front of Xing Jingtu, Zhou Fu took out his identity card. Before he handed it over, Xing Jingtu slightly raised the corner of his mouth and shook his head. "No need. I remember Zhou Fuwei's appearance very clearly. After all, you were the one who almost destroyed the Martial Cultivation Building on your first day in the gang." Following the other party's teasing words, Zhou Fu smiled embarrassedly, put away the identity card and said, "That was an accident, don't take it to heart." Xing Jingtu sneered. An accident had almost cost the Martial Cultivation Tower. If not for the fact that the whale gang's leader, Xing Gang, had decided that Zhou Fu was his weapon, he would have been beaten to death long ago. "External Affairs Minister Zhou, why are you here?" Zhou Fu said, "I want to take a look at those mystic-ranked mental cultivation methods." Mystic-ranked mental cultivation methods? Xing Jingtu stretched and yawned. "Oh," he rubbed his eyes and said, "Zhou Fuwei, don't think about it." Zhou Fu was surprised. "What, the mental cultivation methods haven't been sent back yet?" "No, after you left, they were sent back the same day." At this point, Xing Jingtu smiled evilly. "But didn't the gang leader give you the flying dragon's 5 zigzags and the demon?" What else?" "Demon?" A faint light flashed in Zhou Fu's eyes as he answered, "Tyrant Whale Fist." Yes. It's the Tyrant Whale Fist. Look at me, I'm old and my brain isn't working well. Anyway, Zhou Fuwei, don't think about going up." Zhou Fu pretended to be a little angry, as if he was throwing a tantrum. He pointed at the shelf behind him that held the yellow class skills and said, "Can I look at the yellow class skills? Yellow stage?" Xing Jingtu grinned. "Don't talk about looking at them, you can even take them away. But you still have to register them and return them on time." Zhou Fu nodded and turned to the bookshelf. After rummaging through it, he took 2 books and returned to Xing Jingtu. "Let me see, Armor Breaking Blade, Yellow Dragon Protective Treasure Technique." Xing Jingtu looked at Zhou Fu and asked curiously, "Zhou Fuwei, are you going to practice a blade technique? These yellow stage martial arts don't match your status." When he thought of how Xing Gang begged for mercy in front of him last time, he was annoyed. Thus, he added fuel to the fire in Zhou Fu's heart. After hearing that, Zhou Fu's face froze for a moment. He also wanted a high-level martial arts, but he couldn't. "I've registered them. Here." After taking the secret books, Zhou Fu turned and left. Xing Jingtu sniffed the air and shook his head, sighing, "What a strong smell of blood. Second brother, I've helped you hide the fact that you threw away the demonic art. If you can't bring the old man pleasure, Uncle won't be soft-hearted with your good legs." After Zhou Fu boarded the ship, a messenger rushed into Xing Gang's courtyard. "Go, find Elder Kong." After reading the letter, Xing Gang rubbed his head and ordered. After a while, Kong Yutsung hurriedly ran in. "Sect leader! Come. Xing Gang waved his hand. After Kong Yu-tsung sat down in front of him, he handed the letter over. Take a look. As Kong Yu-tsung took the letter, he asked, What's wrong? Did that kid cause trouble again? From the moment he entered the room, he had been observing Xing Gang's expression. There was anger, helplessness, and shock. He looked like he had a headache and was happy at the same time. It didn't seem like something big had happened. When he thought about the recent situation in the sect, he guessed that Zhou Fu had caused trouble again. Xing Gang shook his head and sighed. Read the letter first. Kong Yu-tsung lowered his head and quickly skimmed through it. There wasn't much content, only half a page. However, the content gave him a headache. Seeing Kong Yu-tsung's expression, Xing Gang grinned and said, How is it? What do you think? At this time, Kong Yu-tsung only felt that his head was about to explode. How dare this Zhou Fu? He felt strange and frowned. It can't be. I know about the Chun and Huang families. Although they don't have blood-changing experts, they have a lot of second and third stage bone-forging cultivators. Moreover, Zhao Wanshan also made a move. Why couldn't he stop him? He looked up at Xing Gang and continued, The letter also says that Zhou Fu can actually fight Zhao Wanshan head-on? Although Zhao Wanshan didn't complete the first blood-changing, his strength is at the blood-changing realm. Could it be? Zhou Fu has strength that surpasses the first blood-changing realm. He actually has such talent? At this time, Xing Gang's expression wasn't any better. The saber in his eyes grew too quickly. Who knows? But I'm sure that his tyrant whale fist broke through again. That's an extra 2,000 gene of strength. Kong Yu-tsung's expression was strange. That means that Zhou Fu has at least 1,000 gene of strength? This is still training? Just as the two of them were still in shock, another guard came in from outside. Report. Come in. The guard entered the room and said, Sect leader, Zhou Fuwei just came to the headquarters. He went to the martial cultivation tower and then left in a hurry. And? Martial cultivation tower? Kong Yu-tsung asked, What did he go to the martial cultivation tower for? According to Elder Xing, Zhou Fuwei took 2 yellow stage cultivation techniques. Yellow stage cultivation techniques? What are they? Armor-breaking saber and yellow dragon protective treasured technique. Chapter 108. Xing Gang waved his hand and dismissed the guard. All right, you may leave. Yes. The guard turned and left. Xing Gang turned to look at Kong Yu-tsung and said, Yellow stage cultivation technique. What is he up to this time? This. I am not sure, but... Kong Yu-tsung paused for a moment before continuing. What I am concerned about is that he has obtained the Yellow Dragon's protective treasured technique. Upon hearing Kong Yu-tsung's words, Xing Gang frowned and replied, That is only a yellow stage cultivation technique. Even if it's a yellow-ranked martial art, once an ordinary person masters it, it'll be hard for them to be injured by swords and sabers. Zhou Fu, on the other hand, is a person with outstanding talent. How long would it take for him to master this martial art? What kind of effects would there be after mastering it? The series of questions made Xing Gang fall silent. Yes, the Yellow Dragon's protective treasured technique was only a mid-grade yellow stage cultivation technique. Even if the medicinal wine recipe was included, it could barely be considered a high-grade cultivation technique. However, he then thought of his elder brother, the monstrous genius of the Xing family, Xing Yang. Previously, Xing Yang had used his strength to tell him that cultivation techniques were important, but the most important thing was still the person. After explaining these principles to Xing Gang, Xing Yang had used a yellow stage cultivation technique to teach Xing Gang, who was cultivating a heaven stage cultivation technique, a lesson. Although Xing Yang was at the second blood transformation realm at that time, he was only at the second bone forging realm. Xing Gang looked at Kong Yu-tsung and said, We can't possibly ask for the cultivation technique back now, right? Are you that shameless? Kong Yu-tsung was also in a difficult position. He pondered for a moment before saying, Sect Master, since the cultivation technique has already been given out, then let's forget about it. However, we can start with the matter of him slaughtering the Chen and Huang families. We can prevent him from entering the martial cultivation tower for a year. Well, that's a good idea. What's next? Xing Gang continued to ask. Originally, you wanted me to give you the prescription because you wanted to use up Zhou Fu's money. Now that he has subdued the Chen and Huang families, even though they are small merchants, it is enough for him to soak in the decoction every day. His words made Kong Yutsung's body tremble slightly. He sighed in his heart, "What a good sentence! I asked you to give me the prescription." Since Xing Gang had said this, he had to think of a way to resolve it. From his tone, it sounded like he was already dissatisfied with him. The room fell silent. "Chief," Kong Yutsung suddenly said, "I have an idea." Xing Gang's expression turned serious. We can start from three aspects. First, the legitimate son of the Chen family is Shi Long's disciple. However, he is not Shi Long's disciple, but the disciple of Shi Long's eldest disciple. Oh? Did Shi Long have such a hobby? His eldest disciple is only at the third stage of bone tempering, right? Is he over 30 years old? No, he is 28. Kong Yutsung continued. Shi Long also values the Qin family's medicine business. Speaking to this point, he suddenly stopped. Medicine business. Xing Gang sighed, a cold light flashing through his eyes. He looked back at the other and said, "Continue?" "Yes, we can secretly instigate the legitimate son of the Chen family to seek revenge. Second, now that Zhou Fu has taken full control of the Elysium, isn't there still the Red Sea Gang's 10,000 gold building on the docks east of the city? Also, didn't the Red Sea Gang lose a hall leader some time ago? This matter can be linked to Zhou Fu and have him clash with the Red Sea Gang. This way we can speed up his cultivation of Tyrant Whale Fist and also..." Without waiting for Kong Yutsung to finish speaking, Xing Gang waved his hand. "Speed up my ass. That kid's strength is almost at the limit of strength training. If he breaks through again, his body will explode." "Limit?" Kong Yutsung looked at Xing Gang in surprise. He really didn't know about this. "AI," Xing Gang suddenly sighed. "I don't blame you. How could ordinary people know about this?" Kong Yutsung sat up straight, looking like he was all ears. Xing Gang continued. "According to the findings of the older generation, the limit of a strength-training martial artist is 5,000 jin. Once this limit is exceeded, the body will collapse without exception." 5,000 jin? Kong Yutsung's eyes instantly widened. This value was close to the second level of blood transformation. Moreover, the difference between strength training and blood transformation was the entire bone forging realm. Was this still considered strength training? Xing Gang glanced at Kong Yutsung and said, "I know what you want to say, but the world of geniuses is different from ordinary people. Take me for example. When I was in the first level of bone forging, my strength was 8,000 jin. 8,000! Kong Yutsung exclaimed. Although he had followed Xing Gang since he was young and knew that he was powerful, he didn't know how powerful he was. 8,000 is considered a lot? Xing Gang coldly snorted. 8,000 isn't a lot? My boss's strength is 5,000 in the strength training realm, 10,000 in the first level of bone forging, and 30,000 in the third level. These are all the limit." A series of numbers exploded in Kong Yutsung's head. Was this the world of geniuses? He casually asked, "Then, how much is the blood transformation realm?" Xing Gang glanced at him and said, "Even if you know, it's useless. The gap between them and ordinary people will only widen. Ordinary people just need to hear it to stimulate them." Kong Yutsung was silent. Yes, he was only an ordinary person. But his heart was still very uncomfortable. Even if he was a genius, the gap was too big. The strength of a bone forging realm was the same as an exuvia realm. Wasn't this nonsense? Alright, don't think about it. Do you have so many geniuses? Xinggang saw Kong Yutsung's strange expression and casually comforted him. But halfway through, he stopped. That Zhou Fu seemed to be a genius. Xinggang somewhat angrily scratched his head and said, "Hurry up and think of a way for me." Kong Yutsung took a deep breath and said, "Boss, since things have come to this point, if you don't want to use this blade, then kill him as soon as possible. If you still want to use it, then speed up his growth. Let him and Shi Long suffer in the competition 1.5 years later. Even if that Zhou Fu is a genius, that Shi Long isn't someone to be trifled with either. It can't be that Zhou Fu will be able to crush him to death in 1.5 years, right? You still want to sponsor him?" Xinggang rolled his eyes. Kong Yutsung's face flashed with a gloomy expression. "The Chun family has a pill master. This is a hidden danger that must be eliminated. Then, we will give Zhou Fu Dawn that can increase his power. Moreover, he can only obtain Dawn from us so that we can control his cultivation progress. If his cultivation is fast enough, then we will arrange for Shi Long to face him in advance. After all, Shi Long still has a nephew." Xinggang nodded and said, "That's the only way for now. Sigh, what a pity. It seems that the Shi family only has that one heir. TSK, you are really ruthless. Kong Yutsung. Alright, let's do it this way. Remember, choose the Dawn carefully for cultivation. If there are any more mistakes, subordinate understands. As long as you understand, you may leave." "Yes." Elysium. After Zhou Fu returned to his residence, he instructed his butler, Ma Shuping, to discuss with Huang Feng and Chen Guhong about building a big house for himself nearby. All the facilities would be prepared around himself. After everything was arranged, he began to look through the techniques he had obtained today. Ding! Yellow Dragon's protective treasured technique has been successfully installed. At this moment, Zhou Fu's condition had almost recovered with the support of the eternal spring force. He could directly level up. Level up. Following Zhou Fu's command, the interface of Yellow Dragon's protective treasured technique blurred for a moment before it appeared again. Ding! Yellow Dragon's protective treasured technique has been successfully upgraded. Yellow Dragon's protective treasured technique. Level 5, Intermediate Damage Reduction Level 1, Sturdy Armor Level 5. Under Zhou Fu's skin, there seemed to be countless small snakes swimming around. These were all streams of inner strength that continuously passed through Zhou Fu's body. Those originally tough and firm muscles were once again strengthened. At the same time, his skin was also plated with a layer of golden armor, as if he was wearing a layer of golden armor. So this is the sturdy armor technique. In front of the mirror, Zhou Fu looked at himself in the mirror. His upper body was naked, and his muscles were well defined, as if they had been carved by a knife. At the same time, he was wearing a layer of golden armor, which made him look extraordinary. He raised his hand and clenched it. His muscles tightened, and suddenly, a sharp pain came. Instantly, Zhou Fu's expression changed. He felt that his arm was about to be torn apart. Pucci, a line of blood appeared on his forearm, followed by 2, 3. Zhou Fu hurriedly loosened his clenched fist. He looked at his arm in shock. His whole body was stunned. What was this situation? He walked to the basin and washed the blood with water. At this time, the wound on his arm had already healed, leaving only streaks of red marks. They were densely packed, and looked abnormally terrifying. He walked back to the bed and sat down. He looked at his arm in a daze. He just clenched his fist. Why did it become like this? At that moment, he felt that his arm was about to be torn apart, and the thing that tore his arm was his own strength. Could it be that my strength has already exceeded the limit that my body can bear? A trace of understanding came to his mind. Immediately, his expression changed. He hurriedly sat cross-legged. At the same time, he thought to himself, if my strength has already reached the limit, then can I still use my inner strength? Within his body, the pale golden inner strength was circulating through the 6 meridians. Moreover, in less than half a month, more than half of the 7th meridian had been opened. According to the current progress, in less than a month, he would be able to open it. Opening his eyes, Zhou Fu's expression was gloomy. There was no problem with the inner strength, so the problem was with his body. If it's really according to my guess, before the next body strengthening, which is before the 9th meridian, I can't improve my inner strength? No, it seems that even fighting with people has become a problem. F***ck. After figuring out the reason, Zhou Fu lay on the bed. He couldn't sleep, and his heart felt uncomfortable. After experiencing the tearing of his arm, he suddenly found that the cheat couldn't be used. In the following days, Zhou Fu would have to devote himself to the practice of inner strength. Moreover, he couldn't fight with people. This feeling was very uncomfortable. Inner strength. What should I do? Suddenly, a light flashed. He seemed to have forgotten that the Chun family was a medicine merchant. Before, they said that they had alchemists. Then, there should be pills to improve inner strength, right? I'll ask tomorrow. Sleep. Chapter 109. Early the next morning. The sky had just brightened. Sir, not good. Chun Guhong came to Zhou Fu's courtyard with a pale face and said in panic, Sir, not good, my family's alchemists were all killed last night. What? Zhou Fu's eyes widened as he stared at Chun Guhong. Speak clearly. Chun Guhong paused for a moment and said, Last night, a servant suddenly came to report that the alchemist's courtyard was on fire. This subordinate hurriedly brought people over. But when I rushed over, everything that could be burned was almost burned. I asked people to put out the fire while looking for people. When I found them, the 3 alchemists were all dead, killed by someone. Zhou Fu asked, Did you find out who did it? Not yet. Chun Guhong shook his head. The other party acted quickly and neatly, and also set fire. We didn't find anything at the scene. The alchemists were actually gone. A tyrannical mood rose from the bottom of Zhou Fu's heart. He was not reconciled and continued to ask, Then does the Chun family have any enemies? How could there be no enemies when doing business? After the incident, Chun Guhong also thought about it, but then he immediately denied it. Doing business, everyone followed the unwritten rules. If there was anyone who didn't abide by the rules, by killing the other party's alchemists, using a drastic move to defeat the other party, they would definitely be jointly attacked. Moreover, at this time, the medicinal herbs merchants in the east of the city had already moved. They put in money and effort to find the culprit. The rules were the rules, this example could not be broken. Not only the medicinal herbs merchants, but the alchemists also relied on their connections to investigate. This was related to the lives of people in their line of work, so they definitely couldn't swallow this humiliation. Facing Zhou Fu's question, Chun Guhong explained, There are a few in the same line of work, but they won't do this. All trades and professions have their own rules. In our line of business, we can only use normal means to win. If anyone dares to go down the evil path, then he will be facing all the medicinal herbs merchants. Zhou Fu clenched his fists a few times before quickly releasing them. He was furious. Last night there was a problem with his body. After thinking for a long time, he finally thought of a way. Who knew that on the second day, he would receive news that the pill master he had just accepted yesterday was gone. How could he not be angry? Since he still didn't know who the murderer was, he could only wave his hand helplessly and order, Go and investigate first. Yes. Chun Guhong turned around and left. Sigh, Zhou Fu leaned against the back of the chair, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Good move. It should be directed at me, right? Sure Long, is it you? He looked at the scenery outside the window. Suddenly, a name appeared in his mind. He narrowed his eyes and flicked his finger on the armrest of the chair. Could it be Sex Gang, he thought. At this moment, Jean Peng ran in a panic. Sir, there's a letter from the headquarters. After saying this, He took a small package and placed it on the table near Zhou Fu. Zhou Fu looked at the package and froze. Didn't he say there was a letter? Why was it a package? He waved at Jean Ping, and the other tactfully left the room. He opened the package and found a half-sized wooden box inside. It was more than 20 centimeters in length, width, and height. He took off the lid and found a letter on the first layer. He then took off the first layer, revealing the bottom layer. Zhou Fu looked at it and frowned. The second layer of the wooden box was filled with pills wrapped in wax. They were stacked on top of each other. On top of the pills was a note with the words, "Qi condensation pill" written on it. On the side was the effect of the pill. The general idea was that taking this pill before cultivation could increase the efficiency of internal strength condensation. For people in Zhou Fu's realm, it could increase by at least 60%. Zhou Fu stretched out his palm and slid it on the pill. He sneered in his heart, "Didn't I find the culprit?" He then picked up the envelope on the first layer and opened it to read. Zhou Fu took the letter and read it line by line. His face slowly darkened. After reading it, he squeezed out a sentence from between his teeth. "Good. Good. Good. Very good. I can't go to the combat cultivation tower. I can't go to the headquarters without the sect leader's orders. How ruthless." He put down the envelope and felt a sense of helplessness. In the end, he was still too weak. Otherwise, even if the culprit did it, they wouldn't dare to do it so brazenly. Then, he placed his gaze on the medicinal pills, restricting me while giving me cultivation resources. This is a good plan. He also knew that no matter how angry he was, it was useless. Cultivating hard and increasing his strength was his top priority. Zhou Fu burned the letter from the headquarters, picked up the wooden box, and walked into the cultivation room. 2 months later, Zhou Fu walked out of the cultivation room with a satisfied smile on his face. Now, he had opened his 9th meridian, and his body had been strengthened again. After strengthening my body this time, the burden is much less. Even the strength I used to fight Zhao Wanshan won't be a problem. When he was in a good mood, everything he saw was beautiful. "Greetings, sir. Greetings, sir and young master." Ma Shuping, Huang Feng, Chen Guhong, and Jean Ping bowed to Zhou Fu. All right. Who came up with this idea? There's no need to be so polite." Zhou Fu waved his hand and gestured for them to stand up. Although that was what he said, who could withstand such a situation? He was still very happy. "You guys came together. What's the matter?" Ma Shuping said, "Young master, your house is ready. It's not far from here. It only took me a little more than 15 minutes to come here. Moreover, Yuzhu has already set it up there." "All right, let's go take a look." After getting on the carriage, the group rushed to the new house. After less than 10 minutes, the carriage stopped. Zhou Fu walked down the carriage, and his eyes suddenly lit up. The 6-meter-wide vermilion door was very eye-catching. On the door, there was a black plaque with golden words on it. The words, "Zhou Residence," were written on it. Zhou Fu's eyes twitched when he saw it. What he wanted was just a convenient place to cultivate. He didn't expect these people to make it so ostentatious. After entering the door, what entered his eyes was a large projector wall with exquisite carvings. Behind the projector wall was a medium-sized courtyard. There were 3 paths that led to the main hall and 2 corridors on both sides. Zhou Fu looked at them and was a little dissatisfied. Where was the training ground that he wanted? Ma Shuping was indeed Zhou Fu's appointed butler. He immediately understood the young master's thoughts. He said, "Young master, the training ground is at the back. After passing through the main hall, it will be there." They continued to walk inside and met many servants along the way. After passing through the main hall, a spacious open-air training ground appeared. On both sides of the training ground, there were 2 rows of weapon racks that were already full of weapons. "Young master," Ma Shuping pointed to the house facing the training ground and said, "The first floor of the house is a training room. When the weather is bad, it won't affect the young master's training." Moreover, the floor is made of 3 horizontal and 3 vertical bricks. The top is paved with a layer of bluestone bricks. It's absolutely solid and won't have water vapor. The second floor is for the young master to meditate and cultivate qi. It's clean, comfortable, and bright. The few of them chatted as they walked in. On both sides of the house, there was a study room and a bathroom. They were both connected to this place. The bathroom was very large. There was a place for steaming, a place for medicinal baths, and even the bathrooms were divided into wooden buckets, showers, and baths. Zhou Fu nodded as he looked at all the facilities. Further inside the courtyard was the main house and the rest area. Yuzhu was busy leading the servants. After walking around, Zhou Fu sighed in his heart. This is my own house. It's so luxurious. I'm so happy. Ever since he came to this world, this should be the first thing that truly belonged to him. Thank you for your trouble. After receiving Zhou Fu's affirmation, a smile appeared on their faces. This is what we should do. It's what we should do. Huang Feng opened his mouth and said, Sir, my Huang family and the Chun family will each send out 2 bone forging guards to live here. They will be able to help Sir deal with some minor problems. As for the big problems, of course, they would be solved by Zhou Fu himself. Zhou Fu nodded in satisfaction. He took out the armor-breaking blade and handed it to Huang Feng. He instructed, in the future, use this cultivation method to train the guards. This secret manual was handwritten by Zhou Fu. Yes. Huang Feng respectfully took it and thanked him together with Qing Guhong. Thank you for your reward, sir. Then, they accompanied Zhou Fu for a while and then left one after another. After calming down, Zhou Fu went to the study room and began to write a letter. After 2 months of consumption, he had used up all the spirit-condensing pills in his hand. For the next cultivation, he needed to ask for medicine from the headquarters. Looking at the letter he finished writing, Zhou Fu sighed. In 2 months, I didn't even manage to invite a single alchemist. Haha. The Chun family's channels have collapsed by half. Huang Jia's business is also being secretly messed with. One by one, they are forcing me. Chapter 110. After sending the letter, Zhou Fu wrote and drew on the paper. He wrote down the forces under his command. It was divided into 3 groups. Elysium, Huang Jia, who was in the restaurant and food business, and the Chun family, who was in the medicine business. Now, the Chun family's alchemist had been killed, and they couldn't find a new alchemist. In just 2 months, the Chun family's business had collapsed by more than half. Even some of the medicinal herbs that Zhou Fu needed for his cultivation had to be purchased from other medicine shops. The Huang Jia wasn't much better. The team transporting food had been intercepted several times, and more than half of the family's guards had been killed or injured. The rest of the people avoided the matter of transporting food like a tiger. The current head shopkeeper of the Huang Jia was Huang Feng's father, Huang Mingdao, who was also having a headache over this matter. What Zhou Fu couldn't accept the most was that the money that the Huang Jia promised him every month had been reduced by more than half, and he couldn't say anything. I want to open up a new world. But where should I start? Zhou Fu stared at the letter, and his mind raced. Time passed little by little, and Zhou Fu couldn't think of a way at all, so the anger in his heart burned even more vigorously. His breathing became heavier, and his blood and qi slowly boiled. In his mind, a picture emerged, which was the encounter since he came to the giant whale. Shilong, Xinggang, Kong Yutsung. One by one, the picture alternated. Damn it! A bunch of bastards! The sound of gnashing teeth came out of his mouth, and he roared word by word. I just want to find a place to practice martial arts, and each of you. Blood vessels crawled all over his eyeballs, and he looked like a demon who wanted to eat people. Suddenly, a cool feeling spread from between his eyebrows. Zhou Fu couldn't help but tremble, and the chaotic picture in his mind instantly dissipated. Huff huff. After waking up, Zhou Fu panted heavily. Sweat began to seep out of his forehead, and the clothes on his chest and back were also soaked in sweat. This again. Zhou Fu took a handkerchief from the side and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Exhausted, he fell asleep just like that. At night, Zhou Fu, who had slept for most of the day, woke up in a daze. At this time, his mind was still not clear. Thus, he walked into the bathroom and took a comfortable shower. Then, they went to the courtyard and ate while enjoying the cool breeze. Under the dim yellow light, he looked at the distant starry sky. It was a different kind of feeling, and his heart felt empty. Tap tap tapped, hurried footsteps could be heard. Zhou Fu sighed helplessly in his heart. It was true that he was sitting at home, but things were coming from all directions. As the sound of footsteps approached, Huang Feng's voice sounded, "Sir, this subordinate has something to report." Zhou Fu turned his head. He saw an anxious expression on Huang Feng's face, indicating that something bad was about to happen. "Sir, something happened in the 2 restaurants on the dock. The chef ran away." Zhou Fu looked at Huang Feng with a strange look and asked, "You said, the chef ran away?" These words made Huang Feng stunned for a moment. He also thought about whether he had not expressed it clearly. After thinking about it, he concluded that it did not seem to be the case. But he still replied, "Yes." Huff, Zhou Fu exhaled and leaned against the chair. Sure enough, it was another headache. He closed his eyes slightly, looked at the night sky, and asked, "When did this happen?" "Just now." "The chef ran away in the middle of the night? How can a living person run away?" Zhou Fu's tone became fierce. Huang Feng suddenly felt a wave of pressure, and could not help but tremble. He hurriedly said, "According to the manager of the restaurant, after the restaurant closed, the chef found them and said that there was an emergency at home and could not come in the future. Then, he did not want his salary and left in a hurry. After the manager reported this to me, I found out that this happened in 2 restaurants at the same time. So, this subordinate quickly came to report to you." Chef, restaurant, Elysium, these 3 words kept circling in Zhou Fu's mind. Suddenly, an idea flashed through his mind. Could he open a high-end gambling den near the Elysium? Or a high-end clubhouse that gathered all kinds of entertainment? Moreover, the people who ran the boats were not all ordinary people. There were many rich people too. This was the dock, people came and went, and there was enough traffic. Although he did not know how to run it, his subordinates knew how to do it. As the boss, he just had to talk about the plan and let his subordinates handle the details. As for whether this would succeed or not, he would do it first. After making up his mind, Zhou Fu's mouth hung a trace of a cold smile. He looked at Huang Feng and said, "Do you know where the 2 chefs' homes are?" This subordinate does not know, but the manager of the restaurant should know. "Good, you go find Jin Peng and ask him to bring the Elysium's guards. Also, you, Huang Jia, send 2 bone-forging guards to bring the 2 chefs and their families back to me." These words made Huang Feng dumbfounded. Good Lord, the target was only an ordinary person, but he actually needed to mobilize a large group of people. Not only that, he even needed bone-forging guards to accompany them? "Sir, this matter, isn't it a bit too much?" "Too much?" Zhou Fu sneered, but he did not explain to Huang Feng. Instead, he said, "You just need to remember, you must act quickly. If someone tries to stop you, immediately send someone to inform me. Do you understand?" With a low shout, Huang Feng's body trembled. He quickly said, "This subordinate understands. I will keep it in mind." "Do it quickly." "Yes." After seeing Huang Feng leave in a hurry, the cold smile on Zhou Fu's face turned into a sinister smile. "Playing dirty, huh? Then I will break your claws." From the other party's series of actions, Zhou Fu could see that the person behind the scenes definitely did not want to fall out with Zhou Fu. That was why he used such methods. However, it was also because of this method that he could be so unscrupulous. With regards to this matter, Zhou Fu did not need to find the person behind the scenes. He only needed to get rid of the person who came out to cause trouble and achieve his goal. Kill once, the other party might be angry. Kill twice, the other party would definitely hate. Kill thrice, the other party would be afraid. Then kill. Kill until the other party's heart ached. Kill until the other party's liver trembled. Kill until the other party no longer made a move. Zhou Fu's mind moved. A carefree feeling welled up in his heart. The pale golden inner strength passing through the 9 meridians suddenly vibrated. The 10th meridian instantly loosened and a trace of inner strength squeezed in. Good. Zhou Fu's eyes flashed. I didn't expect there to be such a harvest. If I wait until I get rid of these rats in the gutter, will there be a big breakthrough? Today, after Zhou Fu sent out a letter asking for pills, the headquarters also replied. First, they acknowledged his cultivation speed. Then, they said that the pills were precious and asked him to use them sparingly. In the end, they only sent 30 pills. This was 2 months' worth of a normal person. But for Zhou Fu, these things could be finished in less than a month. The essence wheel was so overbearing that there was no solution. I said in the letter that I wanted to break through the 9th meridian. They actually only gave me 30 pills. Are they trying to delay my cultivation speed? In the letter, Zhou Fu concealed his true cultivation. He said that he had just broken through the 8th meridian, but he had already finished eating the pills. Now he needed to break through the 9th meridian. In the end, he only had 30 pills, which was not enough. Time waits for no man. Pills, Alchemist. Chapter 111. The night breeze blew gently, and the candlelight flickered. Zhou Fu lay in his chair with his eyes closed, urging his inner strength to slowly break through his 10th meridian. Time passed slowly as he waited for his subordinate's reply. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps could be heard. Many people came, but Zhou Fu's brows were furrowed. Too fast. These people came back too fast, so fast that it was abnormal. Sir. Jin Peng walked in with Elysium's guards, followed by Huang Feng and Huang Jia's guards. Among them were 2 of Huang Jia's bone-forging experts. There were no chefs in the crowd. Seeing this, Zhou Fu's eyes flashed with a cold light. He looked at Jin Peng and asked, "Didn't I ask you to do something? How is it?" At this moment, Jin Peng's face was full of embarrassment. He hesitated for a moment, then took half a step to the side. Behind Jin Peng, an Elysium's guard walked out and bowed to Zhou Fu, saying, "Your subordinate is Ling Hao, the vice leader of the Elysium's guards." "Greetings, Mr. Zhou." Zhou Fu nodded. "Vice leader Ling, you seem to have something to say?" As if he didn't hear Zhou Fu's angry tone, Ling Hao said, "Sir, Huang Feng came to the Elysium just now and said that he received your orders to capture 2 chefs. Not only that, but Huang Jia also sent out bone-forging experts. Your subordinate is very confused about this matter, so I came here to ask for confirmation." These words were reasonable. The Elysium's guards were all giant whalesmen. Naturally, they wouldn't send out people just because of Huang Feng's words. Thinking of this, Zhou Fu's expression changed slightly. He nodded and said, "There is such a thing. I was negligent and didn't give you the token." "Thank you, Vice Leader Ling," Zhou Fu continued. "Since everyone is here, I'll say it again. Brothers, follow Huang Feng and bring back those 2 cooks and their families." After that, he looked at Ling Hao and asked, "Did you hear that, Deputy Chief?" Ling Hao's expression did not change. He nodded and said, replying to "Sir, this subordinate has heard clearly." "Then go and do it." Unexpectedly, Ling Hao remained motionless. He cupped his fists and said, "My lord, I have something that I don't know if I should say." Zhou Fu raised his eyebrows and released a dense killing intent. The temperature in the courtyard suddenly dropped. "You have a matter?" "Yes." "Carry out my orders first." "My lord." Ling Hao shouted loudly, "This matter is not clear. This subordinate is not in the mood to carry it out." As soon as these words came out, the first to react was Huang Feng. "Presumptuous! You, a subordinate, dare to question, sir. How dare you? Take this person down with me. Clang. The sound of swords being unsheathed rang out. Not only Huang Jia, but the guards of the Elysium also unsheathed their weapons. The two groups of people confronted each other in the courtyard. Zhou Fu was so angry that he laughed. My subordinates are disobeying my orders? He turned to Huang Feng and ordered, Guard Huang Jia, put away your swords and step back. Crash. Following Zhou Fu's order, Huang Jia's men put away their swords and stepped back. My lord, it's not that this subordinate is disobeying your orders, but, shut up. An angry shout interrupted Ling Hao's words. Zhou Fu stepped forward, his whole body emitting a terrifying aura. Not far away, the two bone-forging cultivators of Huang Jia were greatly shocked. They looked at each other and could see from each other's eyes that the current Zhou Fu was even more terrifying. Walking in front of Ling Hao, Zhou Fu stared into his eyes and asked, My orders, are you going to accept them or not? At this moment, Ling Hao, relying on his courage, looked at Zhou Fu and said loudly, As long as my lord, bang! A big hand came down in an instant. With the sound of bones breaking, Ling Hao turned into a pile of rotten meat. The night wind blew, and a strong smell of blood filled the air. Seeing this, Jin Peng's mind trembled. Zhou Fu's oppressive killing intent forced him to take 3 steps back before he could stabilize his body. Even more unbearable than Jin Peng were the Elysium's guards standing in front of Zhou Fu. After seeing Ling Hao's tragic death, they all pointed the long swords in their hands at Zhou Fu. This time, Zhou Fu was completely enraged. Good. A bunch of dogs. Since you don't listen, then there's no use in keeping you alive. An astonishing killing intent, along with the night wind, instantly shrouded the courtyard. My lord, don't. Jin Peng panicked. Seeing that Zhou Fu was about to start a massacre, even though he was terrified, he still tried to stop him. There was no other way. They were all people of the giant whale. If they were all killed by Zhou Fu here today, it would definitely be a big mess. At that time, no one would be left well. Hearing that someone was trying to stop him, Zhou Fu looked over. This time, Jin Peng was so scared that he almost wet himself. Speak. Jin Peng took 2 more steps back and leaned against the stone pillar in the corridor to stabilize his body. At this time, he was 7 steps away from Zhou Fu. My lord, don't be angry. I'll speak. His murderous gaze shifted between the Elysium's guards and Jin Peng. After a few seconds of silence, Zhou Fu nodded. Seeing that you've worked hard, I'll give you a chance. Jin Peng was instantly overjoyed and hurriedly bowed. Thank you, my lord. Humph. Zhou Fu snorted coldly and turned to leave. Actually, he didn't want to kill these people now. Although in Zhou Fu's heart, he had already determined that these people would die, but not now. Otherwise, there would be no one to help him later. My lord. Huang Feng walked over, trembling with fear. This way, please. Huang Feng came to the side and comforted him. My lord, please calm down. These people aren't worth getting angry over. If you hurt your body because of anger, you'll be the one losing out. Zhou Fu nodded. He wasn't angry right now, but rather, he was suppressing the murderous intent in his heart. This was all because of tyrannical whale fist. However, with the addition of the murderous intent, Zhou Fu felt that his attacks were even fiercer. Seeing that Zhou Fu wasn't speaking, Huang Feng whispered, My lord, Huang Jia and the Chun family have already started recruiting people. They will train according to the cultivation method that my lord gave them. As long as my lord can endure for a while, you won't have to worry about the lack of manpower. You guys are quite thoughtful. Hearing Zhou Fu's praise, Huang Feng hurriedly said, We're all working for you, my lord. Suddenly, Zhou Fu's heart skipped a beat. He whispered, Later, inform the Chun family to follow us secretly. Don't get too close and don't bring too many people. Huang Feng asked, What other requests do you have, my lord? Please tell us. If you don't meet any obstructions on your way back, Then let the Chun family take action and push those people up. This. Huang Feng was shocked. He was going to kill those guards. Yes. This subordinate understands. Zhou Fu narrowed his eyes and continued, remember, after interrogating the chef, let him insist that someone is targeting the giant whale. Count the deaths of those guards in. Count who? Isn't there still the Red Sea gang? Zhou Fu's lips curled up slightly. With his back facing Jin Ping, he revealed a cold smile. Chapter 112. Sir, Jin Ping came to Zhou Fu's side and bowed. I can leave at any time. As he spoke, he kept his head down, not daring to look into Zhou Fu's eyes. Then let's go. Yes. After receiving the order, Jin Ping turned to Huang Feng and said, I'll have to trouble Brother Huang to lead the way. I don't dare, I'm just following, sir, Huang Feng said with a smile, then turned to Zhou Fu and said, Sir, we're leaving. Go. Yes. Following the sound of footsteps, the people in the courtyard left. At this time, the servants of the Zhou residence walked in with various tools in their hands. They lowered their heads and silently dealt with the corpses and bloodstains on the ground. After dealing with the corpses, they sprayed some medicine to completely cover the smell of blood in the air before leaving the courtyard. Zhou Fu looked at the night sky, but in his heart, he was not as calm as he looked on the surface. Instead, there were turbulent waves. Since I can't suppress it, I might as well not. A cold light appeared in Zhou Fu's eyes. If one looked closely, there was a faint black and red light flickering in the depths of his eyes. Whoosh! A strong wind blew and Zhou Fu rose into the air. Using the roof as leverage, he used his movement technique and disappeared into the night. After half an hour of travel, Huang Feng and Jin Ping arrived at a small courtyard. Is this the place? Jin Ping asked. Huang Feng waved his hand and the restaurant's shopkeeper came forward and said, This is the place. After the shopkeeper finished speaking, he retreated into the crowd. At this time, Huang Feng asked, Shopkeeper Jin, what do you plan to do? The hearts of the Elysium's guards sank, and they looked at Huang Feng with hostility. This sentence was equivalent to pushing all the responsibility to them. But Jin Peng's expression didn't change, as if he didn't hear the deeper meaning in Huang Feng's words. He turned around and ordered, Send people to guard the various places. Leave 2 men to guard the door. The rest of you, follow me in. After that, he gave Huang Feng a grateful look. Jin Ping was very clear that his superior had already made up his mind to kill the Elysium guards. If he didn't do anything, these people would probably be beheaded in a few days. Therefore, he was grateful to Huang Feng for letting him take over the task of capturing the culprit. After Jin Ping finished arranging the people, he waved his hand. The guards standing behind him stepped forward and kicked the wooden door. Rumble! The entire door frame shook violently and flew into the courtyard, smashing into the ground with a loud bang. Go! The 4 Elysium guards rushed towards the main building. Similarly, the door was kicked open. There were a few screams from inside, which were immediately covered by the sound of pain. The 4 guards carried a man and a woman into the courtyard and stood in front of Huang Feng. Sir, we have captured the culprit. At this moment, the manager of the restaurant walked over to take a look. His eyes were filled with pity, but he didn't dare to say anything. He only nodded and said, It's him. Woo woo. After seeing the manager, the chef struggled for a while, as if he wanted to say something. His eyes were filled with pleading. The guard at the side was instantly enraged. He didn't dare to hate Zhou Fu because Zhou Fu's position was too high and his martial arts were strong. He could only hate Huang Feng and the chef in his hands. If it weren't for these 2 people, they would still be living happily in the Elysium. Their vice leader wouldn't have died and they wouldn't be hated by Zhou Fu. The guard slapped him across the face, causing the cook to feel dizzy and almost die. Behave yourself. The woman at the side saw her husband in such a pitiful state and began to struggle. Before the guard at the side could do anything, the manager of the restaurant hurriedly said, Sir, please be merciful. She is just an ordinary woman. Enough. Jean Peng also spoke. Knock them out and take them away. Yes. Then, the guard knocked the two unconscious and brought them out of the courtyard. On the way, the two managers of the restaurant came to Huang Feng's side and said with some fear, "Sir, why are these people so cruel?" Huang Feng sighed and shook his head. This was cruel? There would be even more cruel later. But what could he do? If the chef wasn't greedy, tonight's incident wouldn't have happened. Although the chef's actions wouldn't have led to such a thing, who asked them to offend a person like the god of death? All of this was fate. Manager Miao, don't mention this again. Huang Feng looked at the manager who spoke before and said. In the end, Manager Miao opened his mouth, sighed, and retreated. Huang Feng looked at the manager of the other restaurant and ordered, Manager Su, you just need to focus on leading the way. Don't get involved in other matters. After saying that, he gave a meaningful look. Manager Su's heart tightened and he quickly nodded. He and Manager Miao were both old people in Huangjia. At this moment, with the young master's reminder, he instantly understood that there was something else going on. He could only sigh in his heart, this is fate. Half an hour later, the group of people arrived in front of another courtyard. This time, the Elysium's guards didn't wait for Jean Peng's orders and immediately moved. With a bang, the door flew in and smashed into the courtyard. Then, 4 figures rushed into the house. Amidst the screams, they carried a man out. Sir, there is only one person in the house. Manager Su, who was standing in the crowd, said, It is him. Huang Feng nodded and said, Knock him out and take him away. The group of people quickly retreated. It was already late at night and there were few people on the street. Most of them were drunk or homeless. When these people saw Huang Feng and his group, they all cowered and hid, afraid that they would get into trouble. Huang Feng and the others were also happy with this. This way, their speed of travel would be even faster. After crossing 2 streets, they were about 20 minutes away from Zhou Fu's house. The Huangjia's guards who were hiding in the dark put on their masks. Just as they were about to move, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Who is it? Clang. Several cold lights tore through the night. Clang. Clang. After a series of clangs, all the weapons fell to the ground. At this moment, they saw the face of the person who came. Greetings, sir. Zhou Fu nodded and said, There is nothing for you to do here. You can all go back. The guards looked at each other and nodded. They picked up the weapons on the ground and quickly disappeared into the alley. I was confused. It would have been better if I did it myself. Zhou Fu grinned. Suddenly, there was the sound of fighting not far away. Zhou Fu was stunned for a moment before he reacted. Unexpectedly, someone had made a move before him. With a tap of his foot, he rushed towards the direction of the fight. When he arrived, the fight was intense. There were 4 people on the other side. 2 of them were entangled with the Huangjia's bone-forging expert. The other 2 were fighting back and forth with the Elysium's guards. On the ground, there were several Elysium's guards lying on the ground. It seemed that they were already dead. Interesting. Who are you people? In the dark, Zhou Fu looked at the situation with interest.